Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. If you are standing, please could you come and take your seats as we're about to begin. While you're doing that, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jenny Walrand. I'm Head of Communications and Engagement at the ICB. If you haven't already spotted or haven't already worked it out, the Wi-Fi is the Alverton, very simple, no password. So you don't need to worry about that, and we will potentially be using our Wi-Fi later. If you haven't spotted it on your tables, there is a Menti code. I'll explain that a bit later. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, in a minute I'm going to be handing over to our chair, John Gavett, shortly for our annual general meeting, and that's going to be followed by an open mic session where we'll be hearing from some of you about some of the successes over the last 3 years of the ICB. We'll also be looking ahead and looking back ourselves during the annual general meeting, and you're welcome to join us at the end for some non-alcoholic bubbles as well. Before we start today, a few housekeeping things. You'll see there are 3 fire exits, one here, and one here. There was a test this morning, so we're not expecting any further ones today. If you need a comfort break, the toilets are back past reception and up. And finally, thank you for keeping your mobile phone on silent. So I'm delighted now to invite to our podium our chair, John Gavett.
Good afternoon, everyone. Never quite sure whether I should be worried that too few people turn up to an AGM or too many, but lovely to see you all here, actually. Welcome, and I think we've still got some friends and colleagues standing down the side, but in case you don't know who they are, I just want to introduce Kerno Health, LMC, Workwell, Age UK, Smile Together, Human Disability Cornwall, Community Health and Wellbeing colleagues, and RCHT and CFT R&D teams. Thank you for taking the time out of coming here today and sharing all your thoughts and ideas with us. So, excuse me, AGM time. So I'm John Gavett, I chair and have the luxury of chairing the board for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Delighted to welcome you all here today. It's an important opportunity, I think, to reflect on our work, not just over the last year, which is a normal sort of AGM type of thing, but given the circumstances, I think it's a really good thing to actually reflect on the last 3 years. For those of you who don't know, we started on the 1st of July 2022. It feels a lot longer in some ways, and in other ways it feels like it was yesterday. I'm sure, Kate, you think it's probably the longer of the two, but thank you for everything you've done for us, Kate, and you and your team. I want to share a little bit of where we got to, how we got here, people helping us to help people live longer, happier lives in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, and who those of you who engage in our services locally. This is a formal bit in terms of the AGM, so as I go through this, I apologise if it feels a bit stuffy. We'll try and get to the exciting bit later on. So, in terms of AGM land, I need to start off formally by doing the apologies for any absence. Can I just see where Terry is? Terry, thank you. Terry's our company secretary. Well, you are till Friday. Thank you for everything you've done, Terry, and good luck to you and your family in the future. I just wanted to recognise that. So in terms of, have we received any apologies? Yep. Yep. And some of our non-execs, which you're going to note. Thank you very much. Can I ask the board members, it's slightly weird that this isn't in a sort of boardroom form, so it's the sort of relaxed kind of Cornwall and Isles of Scilly way we do things. So can I just ask those board members around the table, are there any declarations of interest that you want to share? Or as I often joke, still interested? Yeah? Very good. Okay, nothing to write down, Terry. Thank you very much. Well, it's not surprising I'm going to say it's a long time since the last AGM, because we do these things annually, but is there anything that we actually need to say in terms of the minutes from our previous AGM that any board member wants to make? Can we record those accurate and factual? Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. What we're going to do in terms of looking at this now is, I think there is something here about just recognising that this is a little dry on occasions. Normally the CFO chooses to be spontaneous. I don't know if you're going to be spontaneous today, no pressure. But we need to get through this bit because it is the annual report and accounts of our organisation. So We can now move to the presentation of those annual accounts. The annual report, for those who aren't clear, reports the highlights and the progress that we make across our priorities and the challenges we continue to tackle. Before we do that, I want us to get into a short film that reflects some of the highs and the challenges of 24-25 financial year.
So in 24-25, it's been a year when we've really started to function as an ICB. So the years before we were in setup, really. So our teams have moved to their new jobs, our functions have become more robust. And over the course of the last year, I'm really proud that we've delivered our service activity targets. We have continued to improve our constitutional access for people in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. We've hit the budgetary parameters that we said we would do, and we've broken even for the third successive year. So we've just received a letter that's written off all the historic debt that Cornwall was carrying, £114 million. So that's brilliant. And while we were doing all of that, we've changed quite a lot of our services. So the Community Health and Wellbeing Workers, or CHEWIs as they are now known, we've got 60 of those across Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly now. They're really starting to get into the communities that they're serving, and we're starting to get some really good feedback around reduced access to statutory services. So reduced numbers going to ED, reduced numbers of people accessing community services, improved mental health, improved well-being, and some beautiful, vignettes of people who haven't been out of the house for 10 years, and the before and after photographs of the difference that the CHEWIs made to them. So that's immense. At the same time, we've rolled out our X-ray car, so the innovation that came up through primary care. I think over 800 people have been seen by the X-ray car. The vast majority haven't gone to hospital. So for those people, great. For making sure we've only got the right people in hospital beds, it's great. And that innovation will continue to roll out across the county. We've seen improvements in primary care. So we know our primary care evaluates really well. But so that our GPs can focus on their most needy patients, we've put in place around 50,000 additional on-the-day appointments, so that if you need to be seen because you've, run out of a medication or your knee hurts, you can be seen on the day, which frees up general practice to see those people with long-term conditions or who are at the end of their life, so there's continuity of care. So that's brilliant. In mental health, this time last year, we were sending people out of area because of both the service issues that we've got, but also we had to close some of our hospital space at Bodmin Hospital for essential works. And to bring people back faster from out of area, we've invented a service with Chaos called The Nest, which is able to deal with people in crisis, but also is managing some of the reduction in out of area placements. The nearer you are to home services, the shorter your length of stay and the better the outcomes. So a number of our services have won awards over the last year, but the one that I think I'm proudest of is the regional and national parliamentary awards. Has been run by our Home Together service, which is run by a collective of our third sector and voluntary sector services. So these are people that come together and share their activity across a geography so we can get people home quickly. For me, that embodies what we're trying to do in Cornwall, different teams working together in a place for our people. So all in all, I think it's been a great year for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, and everybody that's been part of making that happen are amazing.
If I think back over the whole year, certainly the way in which our ICB board has worked together with its unitary partners to really work together to deliver better outcomes and a financial situation which is really good for us. We've really improved a lot of our services. We've made investments in things like the community health and wellbeing services with new staff, X-ray car, a whole raft of different things. There's a number of things to be proud of, in fact. So I think some of the challenges, if I think about the reform agenda that we've got, everything from frailty, getting people closer to home. We've actually got the end-of-life work that is making sure that people die with dignity at home as well. Discharge to assess, which is principally helping people get out of hospital as well. And I'm really also proud of the investment we've made in our integrated neighbourhood teams, and increasingly doing so. Our board has made a commitment in 25-26 to invest millions of pounds in that area to really put community and place at the heart of our health services and move things away from our acute and being dealt with at place and community level. I mean, if you think about it, there's the people who are going to hospital, particularly to A&E, that possibly could have help and support at community level. and that's where our community health and wellbeing workers have reduced the dependency on the number of interventions for mental health, people going into hospital. The X-ray car, I think it's something like 87% of people who were visited didn't end up in A&E. But at the other end of the hospital, of course, you're actually getting people out of hospital, discharged to assess. And there's new models of care that we're working up, new ways of working that need to be embedded by our providers. And that is great work being done by everybody, and it's a system solution. That includes social care, the third sector, our acutes, providers, mental health, and of course our ICB partners as well.
For the whole of the NHS and the public sector, actually, these are challenging times, aren't they? So we are starting to see reduced allocations as we get back to the rates of investment the NHS had before COVID. So we still have issues around UEC access. We've put lots of resource and time into developing pre-hospital services, so things in your own community that means you don't need to go to hospital. And although the numbers of ambulances that have been arriving at RCHT have reduced, we're still seeing pressure around the front door, so that remains a challenge for everybody.
We all have to agree, as one huge community across the country, what is it that we want to have in our 10-year plan? Once that's resolved, and hope that's resolved over the summer, of course, then how are we going to enact that and roll it out? And that'll have an impact on the ways in which ICBs, providers, partners, acute trusts, mental health trusts, everybody is working together. So there's a whole pathway ahead about the new plan and how it's executed, and just that little thing of making sure we achieve our plan that we set for 25-26 as well.
When this government came to power and the 3 health missions were laid out for us, so from hospital to home, from illness to prevention, and from analogue to digital, that steer around how we should be conceiving care and arranging our services is just refreshing and really helpful. And I know the 10-year plan, when it comes out later on in May, will give us more guidance around that. But the work that we've started doing in Cornwall leans into all of those 3 reforms. So I think it's really exciting that we're going to have government policy aligned with financial incentives, aligned with an expectation that we will deliver for our people. So I'm very excited about that. And I think we've already started to make some moves towards it. The bit that's more challenging as we go into 25-26 is that we will see the numbers of ICBs reduce. We will see a 50% reduction in our running costs, both running costs and programme budget. So ICBs will become smaller. We will also probably see our footprint changing as we go through 25-26. And it's less about having to do that I think is difficult. It's more about we have a group of people who have been through constant change for the last 3 years, and we had only just finished our own internal reconfiguration to take 30% of our running costs out, only just got people into post, only just started the process of looking at training skills analysis and working out how we needed to tool people to do their jobs for the future. And yet again, we're now back into organisational turmoil. So that is something that we'll have to manage. But I want us to manage it well, decently, so that our people know that we are interested in them as human beings as well as people who come to work. But I also want to make sure that we deliver, because the people we serve deserve to see those 3 missions being enacted, and for that to start during the course of 25-26. So I'm torn, really. I'm very enthusiastic and really excited. I'm very sad and committed to making sure we manage change well.
Very good. Thank you. It's always uncomfortable watching oneself, particularly when it's out of sync, and I clearly have to change my voice because I couldn't understand a word I said. But I knew what I meant anyway. Kate, when we come to your section on this, I'd like you to expand on some of these things, because if we can't celebrate the kind of things that we've done now, we never really will. And I think at an AGM, there is a lot to pack in, and I think we've got a lot to say. So if I can just encourage you to share all the great things we've done across our entire system, I'd be very grateful. Before we get to that exciting bit, the extra exciting bit is the money and the finance. So I can introduce you now, our Chief Finance Officer, Simon Gidders-Davis, who'll go through the financial performance formula for us. Simon. Yeah, you go then.
Afternoon, everybody. Everyone gets very excited about this section. So the chair did insist that I go through every page of the annual accounts. So I hope you're ready and excited, because on most occasions I find people are, for all the wrong reasons probably. But so firstly, thank you for coming along and listening to what we've done through the year. And I'm going to talk a little bit about finance and try and taper it off in a way that may be more entertaining than usual. So I'm always asked to do that. In terms of the overall position, so if I show you the picture on the front page here, it shows us keeping afloat as a system. So that's the guy on the surfboard, the lady or guy on the surfboard, and it shows the constant threat of waves coming towards us, which we all feel, I think, in our various different organisations, and that is also very particularly clear this year with the public sector purse being challenging. So, but I'm delighted we are still afloat. And in the narrative that you would have read, hopefully, in the detailed accounts, which I'll run through in a minute, you would have seen that we are described as financially sustainable. We weren't described as that last year. So over the last 3 or 4 years, our system has done an amazing job against all the odds to manage financial position when I'm surrounded by people who just want to do the right thing for our population. And it's a great challenge, and that's the challenge we continue to look forward to do, even with all the changes that we talked about. On page 143, which I won't run through, it does show as a system we delivered a small surplus. I think it's about 49,000 against a 1.5 billion allocation. So that's always a challenge every year to get to that point and to ensure you've invested every penny in the best possible way, and that's what we're always keen to demonstrate. Final few words with the support of my colleague from communications, a little narrative that just sets the scene in terms of us getting to a fair and balanced view, which I've talked about before, which we're assured by our auditors is the case. And I shall just run through this. And it's called A Year in Balance. In Cornwall's coves and Scilly's skies, where healing hands and hope arise, we count not just in pounds and pence, but care, compassion, and diligence. Each figure tells a tale well earned of lessons faced and corners turned. From winter's strain to summer's pace, we held the line with steadfast grace. With every chart and audited line, very exciting, we honour work that's truly fine. For budgets tight, yet hearts so wide, the NHS stands pride. So here's our ledger, clear and true. A thank you wrapped in what we do. For every cost, a cause, a name, and every life, our shared acclaim. And that's it from the financial. To my colleague down there, we'll explain the background to that later, but I will leave it at that. I'm obviously happy to take questions now and later. So, thank you.
Are there any questions on the money?
I always go.
No questions on the money?
No questions from page 143. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You never let us down. I know you've had a bit of help this year, but you never let us down. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay. So, as Simon said, this is our 3rd year as an integrated care board and our 3rd year for financial break-even. And there aren't many out of 42 integrated care boards that can actually say that. So again, I just wanted to sort of re-emphasise, this isn't just a one-off year, it's a sustained performance by colleagues as a system down here. So, I want to say thank you. This is an opportunity to reflect on the last 3 years now, as we move on from some of the formal bits. Haven't quite finished some of the formal bits yet, but as we start to move on. But I just want to ask again, as I need to, are there any questions, more seriously, about the annual accounts that you want to raise? No? Okay, thank you. So let's spend some time, just for a moment, looking ahead. In our annual general meeting, we normally look back, as I've said, but we're going to try and do a little bit of looking forward and a little bit of looking back. Now, most of you will know that this is our last annual general meeting ahead of clustering in the, with NHS Devon Integrated Care Board. Well, that's the last AGM in its current form. There's a lot of confusion that goes on around this. There will still be the two integrated care boards in place, and then there will be a third Peninsula Committee that a lot of the accountabilities will be delegated to at the appropriate moment. So it's not disappearing, but it will have aligned membership, and it will actually delegate a lot of its accountabilities down to that joint committee. But there will still be, and the way things are panning out, we will have another annual general meeting next year in ahead of any potential. Hello, put another 50p in the meter. So I hope that's clear, because there's been a bit of confusion over whether the ICB board is continuing or not. So this is, like I say, it's an opportunity now just to really sort of celebrate what partners and the Integrated Care Board colleagues have done in a difficult year. There's been considerable uncertainty and upheaval in their working lives, not least of all, as I think one of my colleagues said earlier on, that I think it was about a year, maybe 18 months ago, we started a 30% reduction on our cost base for the Integrated Care Board, which we successfully achieved. And here we are again, going through it all again, and now with a cluster as well. So I want to actually begin this part by thanking each and every member of the team for their professionalism, commitment, and support through what has been a continued period of uncertainty, but shows their dedication to supporting every citizen, patient, and resident of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. I want to take the opportunity, particularly as it's an AGM, I've done this twice today in terms of our public board meeting and our private one, but I'd like to celebrate in the AGM as well. I'd like to thank our entire board. We are a unitary board. Now, what does that mean? It's made up of all sorts of partner members from the NHS, but from councils, from the third sector, from general practice, Health Watch, a whole raft of different partners that actually sit around there, from providers, mental health, acute, etc. And I won't lie to you, 3 years ago it was interesting. It's still interesting, but we're now, I think, a much more maturing organisation and team, and that will continue in whatever guise we go through in terms of clustering. And what does this mean? It actually means we've got to continue to focus on those people who we serve. Restructuring can be a very inward-looking process if not careful, and we've got to do that, but we're not here just for that. We're actually here to actually serve the people of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. We've been focusing on 3 core channel shifts. I like to think we led the NHS 10-year plan on this, because weirdly enough, we might not have phrased it this way, but we did actually focus on hospital to community. And let me just pick those out. X-ray, falls and right care cars. What I was trying to say in the video earlier on, I was staggered when we first heard this, that one of our X-ray cars, when it went out, 80% of the time, it didn't require an ambulance to have to come out. Now just stop and think about the efficiency that that brings. Not just to actually the impact on the ambulance service, but think about what that means to the front door in A&E. But most importantly, think of what it means to the person who's dealt with at home, without having to go into hospital and in an ambulance and all the trauma and trials that come with that. We underestimate, you cannot put a value on that. And that's where I think this board has been really at the vanguard of national thinking when it comes to doing stuff at place level. It sees value in a different way. It does the money. You've heard that. Thank you, Simon. It does the money. But what we do is we do more than that. Where does this take us? It takes us into investments over the last few years in same-day emergency care centres, community assessment and treatment units, and our key diagnostic centres. This is a major investment in resources, both capital and in people, and it's not stopping at what we've done. This is a direction of travel we're going on, everyone, and we've got to just think about how, not only are we in the vanguard of doing this, but how do we scale it and ramp it up? How do we do hospital at home? It's very easy to put a value on doing something in your local acute. But I just mentioned, what is the value to the individual that actually gets treated at home with their family in the space which they know and love? That doesn't have to travel to get there. That actually with their community and local community people that serve them. which is why certainly Kate and I have spent quite a few years actually being supported, and I can see Donna in the front here. Donna was, I think, one of the key inspirations of getting our community health and wellbeing worker programme off the ground. And I think without Donna, we would not be here without you on that. So just thank you for that. Yeah. Of course, it does take more than one person to do that. And I can see a number of the place directors who are in the room, who, again, without you... Where is Neil? Neil in the room. Is Neil here? Oh, Neil. Ever since I first met Neil, which was actually pre the Integrated Care Board, I seem to recall it was in St Austell once, where this gentleman walked in quite a punchy kind of mood about what was going to happen at place level. And it so struck me that I've just never forgotten it, Neil. And you are the passion that drives this kind of thing. And I think, again, we would not be... I could say this to almost everybody in the room, but you are a driving influence in the way in which we go about doing place-based activity. I see a lot of your colleagues nodding, so that's testament to you, Neil. So thank you for everything you do for us on that front. Let's turn to sickness to prevention. Integrated neighbourhood teams, I've mentioned those, and the community health and wellbeing workers. How many times do you hear, sometimes in the NHS, we've done that, it's a pilot? What does that mean? Well, out of our 1.5 billion, we've got 2 people in the corner actually working in a sub-office kind of thing. No. This is actually putting millions of pounds. I think we've got something like 60 people now working in this space, and it'll have to grow. And one of the things that's in the 10-year plan, and our strategy locally was ahead of it, like I say, is how do we actually get more investment in more community support? And that's where primary care has been absolutely fundamental to the way in which we do this. And again, as I'm in the process of embarrassing most people, I'm going to embarrass Emma, who's not here from the LMC, but also Stuart on behalf of the Collaborative Board. Again, Stuart, you and the Collaborative Board at general practice level have been an inspiration. And I know there are not 2 colleagues who aren't here, but I can see Andy May in the room. Andy, you were one of the first of the 3 clinical directors that absolutely inspired me to actually want to try and do something different in the Integrated Care Board. And I think you should take a lot of credit for where we've got to here as well. So thank you to you as well. Now, where's Kelvin? Kelvin, you here? There, Kelvin. Now, if ever you wanted to go and find out how to move from analogue to digital, you need a couple of days, by the way, when you chat to Kelvin, because he's got so much to say, because there's so much he's doing and the teams are doing. And for those of you who think this is just stuffy back office stuff, it took me a while to understand AI. I still don't get it. I pretend I do. I say to the kids I get it. I'm not even on Facebook, for God's sake, all right? But there is something about how do we take modern technology and put into users' hands, both users and non-users, by the way. Having come from a private sector background in my former life, we talk about patients, and I remember asking the question in the early days, what do you describe a non-patient? Because that's the kind of person you invest in prevention so they don't become a patient, but what do we call them? Citizens, maybe. I don't mind what we call them, but there is something about the technology that needs to be in somebody's hand, whether it be the national team's development of the app or what we do, the way we work with clinicians to actually do things that risk stratify who does what, where and how. I think the opportunity to maximise analogue to digital has not even been scratched the surface yet. So I'm really looking forward to where we're going on that. So I think the opportunity now, is there a small video about to come? There is a small video. Let's go to the video.
We're changing healthcare for people in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly to live longer, healthier, happier lives.
Caring where it matters is the principle of everything we do. Delivering services at the right place at the right time for the people that we serve.
That is why we're moving more care away from our acute hospitals to communities that are nearer to people's homes.
We know that often the hospital is not the best place for our people, unless they need the expertise and facilities that are only available there.
It means I can get treated quickly and near my home. I can have treatment for 1 of 7 minor conditions at a pharmacy, or have an on-the-day urgent appointment in the primary care hub.
I can have tests and scans in a community diagnostic centre closer to my home. If I need a medical procedure, I might be able to have it in an elective surgical hub on a community hospital site.
I could benefit from hospital care in the comfort of my own home on a virtual ward, where I'm closer to my friends and neighbours. Or I could have an X-ray in my own home after I've had a fall, so I don't need to go to the emergency department.
We don't just want to treat sickness, we want to focus on people, preventing them becoming ill.
And providing proactive care to achieve what's best for them.
I get the right start in life, getting vaccinations, preventing some cancers and illnesses, and learn how to brush my teeth at the Big Brush Club. Also, I can have earlier mental health support if I need it.
It means my high blood pressure is diagnosed and treated, and I'm helped to lose weight and give up smoking, so I'm less likely to develop a long-term condition such as diabetes or have a stroke or heart attack.
It means I have support in places such as community hubs to keep me more active, gives me company, and it helps with any problems I have, such as accessing grants or dealing with debt.
We're also moving from analogue to digital.
Improving the care for our services and making services more efficient.
It means GPs can safely use artificial intelligence to analyse my medical records and identify if I'm at greater risk of needing to be admitted to hospital. If I am, they can support me to stay well and stay at home.
It means my medical records are available electronically to people who need to treat me, and that I can find out information such as results of tests on the NHS app.
And I can have a virtual appointment, saving me from taking time off work or away from my children.
It means everyone can live longer,
Healthier.
Happier lives.
Very good.
We know we can build the neighbourhood.
I'll defer to him. He's got more stripes than me. I'll come to him in a minute. So as we transition to a new set of clustered arrangements across Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly and Devon, I want to make you a personal commitment to those who are residents of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. We will continue the work we're doing. We will continue to invest in the work we're doing. We'll continue the leadership and innovation that we're doing here. And although what I'm about to say here is component elements of our strategy, it's made up of some of the teams that support them, and I'm going to embarrass them in a second as well, so I don't think I'm going to miss you out. I'm going to try not to miss you out anyway. We'll continue to work closely with our partners to tackle the challenges we face. I know Ali's not here, who's our lead partner from the two councils on behalf of Cornwall Council and the Isles of Scilly. Our working relationship with the council has matured immensely. We've now got committees in common, sharing health and wellbeing boards and integrated care partnerships, and we're focusing on different lifestyle stages of citizens. Could only have dreamt of that 3 years ago. Immense movement forward in that space. We're improving waiting times in our urgent emergency care. I've just come from a board meeting which I've chaired, which has actually showed a dramatic improvement in some of our UEC outcomes. And that is a real team effort across a system. And I just want to reach out now to our CMO and CNO, Chris and Susan. Without your clinical input and challenge constantly as we're going through here, again, I feel that some of the thinking and the strategies that we've rolled out, we would not even have thought about it, let alone rolled it out. I'm still intrigued in the dental NHS care that we've been doing in Lostwithiel. And for those of you who know my little joke, we've got more pilots than British Airways on occasions. I just hope that pilot at Lostwithiel really does scale. It's been there, I think it was our AGM last year, it was still a pilot. So just putting that one on notice, we've got to scale that one. Reducing the number of people who die by suicide across Cornwall. Let's have a little shout out to Cornwall Foundation Trust. I don't know if Margaret's in the room. I know Debbie's on holiday, but AD is here, I hope. Yeah, AD. What an amazing team. You're evolving as a board. You're looking at how you can support the system in terms of integrated neighbourhood health delivery. And that's less about being institutionally focused, that's about being system focused. And I think this is just completely an example as to how we support each other. And of course, we're made up of people. And what better person to actually have on the team than our Chief People Officer, Patrick, who looks at not just the way in which we look in our ICB board, but across our wider system. But also the wider system that includes, and I'm looking at Emma now, our third sector, our councils. There are lots of people out there who do not get the credit they probably should do when we actually badge ourselves as the NHS. So thank you for leading on that, Patrick. So our system has had 4 key areas of focus, which I think strategically I won't bore you with, but I think I'm rolling it out in terms of thanking everyone. You get some key themes as to how we're going. But when we look over the last few years, I want to bring us back in some ways to those community health and wellbeing workers. When I explain to my wife we're actually doing the Brazilian model, I have to stop and sort of go, why did I call it that? Because we go, what's it got to do with? And then we go down a rabbit hole of the Brazilian model kind of thing. And then I say, no, it's the community health and wellbeing workers. She still goes, what on earth is that? I said, no, forget it. It's in partnership with social prescribing. We badge stuff brilliantly, I have to say. But the way in which I actually feel, and hopefully you can hear from some colleagues in the stalls that are here, the way in which it works is people from the community are supporting people from the community and doing it in a preventative kind of way so they don't end up having a problem longer term, whether it actually ends up in A&E or a mental health crisis or whatever else. I think sometimes we've got to just stop the sort of corporatese language that we use and try and land it down. How we do that, I think we've got a long way to go on that, but as this is an annual general meeting, I'm comfortable to use some more structured governance stuff. So looking back at the journey, it seems like only yesterday we came together. It was the 1st of July 2022, as I've said. It has not been without its difficulties. If I think about some of the things that, David, you and your team, and Steve most specifically, have had to put up with some of the industrial challenges in terms of strikes and that over the last few years. How you've gone through that. You're still dealing with them today, in fact. How you've worked across the system to support our patients with new models of care, rolling things out across our system. I think that's been an amazing challenge, because you can have a board like ours that sits here in a rather lovely place like this and says, let's do it. But if the clinicians don't buy into this, and I am talking now not just, David, your clinicians, but all clinicians across our system, if they don't buy this, this is never going to happen. So one of the things that we really have to be is clinically led, and we have to actually have this built up from the ground. The one challenge I would add is, with clinically led and bottom up, will you please not take us long going forward, as maybe we've taken to get to where we are now. But that's just because I'm impatient. But fantastic work to have got to where we are. There's one person that I think I've missed. Let me think on that. Kate, anyone you think I can miss? She's called Kate Shields. Now, I want to tell you a little story about Kate Shields. I was walking through Foy with my wife. I think I'd been here a week, a fortnight, and the phone went, and it was Kate on the phone. And my wife, who was about 10 feet away, said, who on earth is that? I think we were exchanging some views at the time, Kate. All right. And do you know what? From that moment, I feel I have had some of the best working I've ever had in my entire career, and I've been around a few years with you. And I am going to try and remember the joke I made earlier on to it. All the best TV series are made up of Cagney and Lacey. They're made up of, I don't know, who else can I think of? Starsky and Hutch, I said to you earlier on, that kind of thing. Bodie and Doyle, as I used to. John and Kate, for goodness sake. I mean, I'm not quite Kate, but without Kate, I do not feel we would be here. You've been an inspiration to us, Kate. You still are. All right. We've got a long way to go before we finish this journey. But I do want to actually thank you on behalf of everybody in this room and everybody who's not in this room for your leadership, both historically and as you take us through this difficult journey. So what I'm going to finish by saying is, Kate, over to you.
Thank you very much.
We know.
So, my grandson, Theo, who's 7, stood opposite me yesterday and went, and I said, why are you doing that, Theo? And he went, it's you. And having just watched myself on there, that child is right, I do a lot of blinking. It really wasn't very nice to see, but there we go. I was going to say thank you to Andy May being here, because when John and I started working together, he had what he called the 3 amigos, which was Andy, Jim Tate, and Penny Atkinson. And that 3 amigo group has morphed into 16 integrated neighbourhood teams with a desire to start doing some really great stuff. And that comes down to the leadership that we had 3 years ago, that we inherited. There were nothing to do with creating that. But I'm really very grateful for all the work that people did that's put us in such a great position. So now's a time of change. Was there ever a time in the NHS that wasn't a time of change? And we're really good at managing. Every time we get asked to affect change, we know how to go about doing it. But we need to understand what we have done and what we've achieved in order to influence what we do next. And I think we have done a lot in a really short period of time. One of the things that I'm really conscious of is that it's a shame Margaret's not here, because Margaret Schwartz taught me this, along with Peter Levin, who's also not here, that sometimes your strongest criticisers are your biggest friends. So I'm very sad Peter Levin's not here, because he's the person I go to find out what people really think. And it's great to have some of those touch points around our county, people who will just tell you how they think it is, and do it in such a way that you can hear it. So it's not always easy to hear criticism or negative feedback, but it's really great to have it. So I'm very proud of what everybody's done in this room. Just the facts and the figures that are up there, they are not achieved by individuals, they're achieved by Chris's phrase, teams of teams, people who decide to come together, decide to work together on behalf of others. And I think what we've started to do is to help people in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly to have the opportunity to live longer, healthier, happier lives. And every colleague that we work with, I mean, there's loads of people who aren't in this room, aren't there? And they're all part of making that happen. I think we forget that when we launched the ICB, and John's right, it does feel like a long time ago for me. It was hot on the heels of the worldwide pandemic, and I'm getting a bit bored now when people say, well, that's down to COVID, because it's actually 5 years ago. But at the time, it was really fresh. One of the most challenging periods in the whole of the history of the NHS, and a time when our colleagues were working harder than ever before to keep people safe, treat them and vaccinate them, and keep them often in their homes. And I think from that work, some of the models that we are now taking for granted across Cornwall, place-based care, home-based care, what matters to me, not what's the matter with me, we have built those models over the next 5 years. So as a new integrated care system and an integrated board took over, we took over the reins of the health and social care system and made a promise to work together to make Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly a great place to be born, a great place to thrive, and a great place to grow old. We also said we weren't going to argue about who was in charge, that we would spend our time and our energy working together, and that the role of the ICB was to convene. It wasn't to tell, it wasn't to instruct, it was to encourage and to facilitate spaces where people could come together. We're still working on making that model work, and we know that too many people are waiting too long to get the care they need, and that the difference in life expectancy between our poorest and most affluent neighbourhoods is too big. But we've made progress. We have to notice the fact that we've made progress. And as we've made progress, we're now starting to notice where we haven't and what we need to do in order to make that better. We agreed as a system 3 years ago at our True North event that the public should judge us not by what we do, by what we say, but by what we do. And I think I was even so bold as to say, if we're not doing it in a year, I'll resign. Well, it's my 3rd year and I've not resigned yet. So if we see what we've done, if you look at the slide behind me, you'll see some of the numbers. 8.5 million face-to-face GP appointments, almost 2.5 million outpatient appointments, 500,000 NHS 111 calls answered, and over 400,000 face-to-face mental health appointments. Sorry, I'm not very good at following a script. One of our strengths locally is the ability to innovate and to try new things. We've got John Stiddle with us from the Health Innovation Network. We were reviewed about 5 years ago, and people in this county are one of the best adopters and adapters of innovation across the whole of the country, across all sectors. We're part of the Health Innovation Network, and the reach that that gives us around new drugs, new ways of working, new relationships with pharma, it gives us the opportunity to use the talents we've got, people who frankly will try hard to make things happen, so we can overcome the challenges of our geography, our older population, our economic challenges, and our huge influx of tourists, and make sure that those things that for us are a challenge become our unique selling point to others that might want to invest in us, and that we become test beds for other parts of the country. So let's take a look at our journey as an ICB. the text is up on the following slide. You won't be able to read everything on the slides, but they're in our reflections document, which I should have told you right at the beginning is on your table. And I think it's really nice. It's got lots of pictures in it, which are very engaging. So you don't need to read it in a steadfast manner. You can flick through it and then go back for more detail. So this takes us back to the beginning. Our launch as an ICB at our True North event. And I was a little bit nervous of you lot when we launched the True North event, if I'm terribly honest. So we didn't set the invitation list. We asked our people who have now become our place directors to work with their CDs from the primary care networks and asked you to invite your people to come and have your conversations in your places. And I think the fact that we did that from the start was a really good fertile ground for people knowing it's not our ICB, it's yours. This ICB is the start of a social movement across the county. I won't be quite so grandiose yet, but it is a start of a way of us working together that meets the needs of our people. We've spoken to thousands of people in our community conversations. I think it's around 15,000 in total. My husband says that's not technically possible. I need to introduce him to Lucy because it technically is. We've launched community hubs across Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. We've introduced community health and wellbeing workers to support the people who need them the most. We've developed 3 community diagnostic centres to help people whose health conditions diagnosed or ruled out earlier and closer to home, and provided tens of thousands of on-the-day face-to-face appointments in primary care hubs, and hosted national visits from people such as, it says on my script, Rishi Sunak, but I'm going to extend it to Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock, once without his friend, once with his friend, and Rachel Reeves. Just this morning, Rachel Reeves was in this room. So this slide, is there another slide now? This slide continues our journey. We've opened a new stroke ward at Camborne and Redruth, and Debbie Richards, if she was here, what she says, I hadn't appreciated it in this way. The first new physical facility that Cornwall Partnership Trust has had for about 30 years. Adi, can you remember the exact number? So we've invested a lot in our acute infrastructure, and even general practice, I'm looking at your hand, Stuart, did have some investment about 15 years ago. But we've put some investment into a place where we know we have lots of strokes. My frustration isn't how we treat them, it's how we stop them. So the bit we should be focusing on is atrial fibrillation and how we make sure that we are preventing people having strokes. But we are developing infrastructure that we haven't had. We've helped people get treatment for common conditions through Pharmacy First. My family are very frequent users of Pharmacy First, and we're keeping older people living with frailty at home through our hospital at home, our Pioneer X-ray car, and our same-day emergency care centres. Clearly there's more we can do for that, because if we ask our acute colleagues around the people that turn up at hospital between 4 and 9 in the evening, they are often people who could be staying in their own homes, but we need to extend the opening hours of our services. Our mental health emergency response people's helping people experience a mental health crisis, and our elective care hub in St Austell's providing thousands of planned surgical procedures closer to home. We're the first ICS to have all GP registers, all people registered with a GP, registered as veteran-friendly practices, and we've won a national parliamentary award for our ability to share. Now, pre-COVID, if we'd have come up with the idea that we could share activity across organisational boundaries, we'd have all been told that the governance wouldn't allow us to do it because we'd have to share people's names and addresses. Well, clearly we would, because we need to know where we live to go and look after them. But since COVID, we've got over the large data sharing environment, the fact that we've been really clear about when the governance makes sense and when it just needs changing. We're now working in a very different way. Is this slide 5? This is the next slide. So we continue to work to support our communities through the Work Well scheme. So Jessie Lee, where are you? And wandering around this county. So the Work Well scheme is about getting people back to work who've got long-term conditions. Seb, where are you? So Seb from St Austell, I happened to go and visit Stuart and have a little wander around St Austell, met Seb and have now introduced him to Jessie, because Seb's doing amazing work in the Pain Cafe, getting people back to the lives that they've wanted to live, not the ones that they ended up with through their chronic pain, noticing that perhaps the wrong questions are asked when people go into general practice, or that we've assigned people to certain I want to say boxes. So fibromyalgia isn't a sort of pain that we treat around here. Well, it needs to be, and Seb and his team are picking that up. I know that is replicated across our county, but every time you go out and meet people in our places, you find fantastic people who are just wanting to make a difference, that we need to give them space, time and resource to do. Our Mental Health Rehabilitation Centre, the Nest, you saw the picture of it when the slide was up. That was one of our learning disability homes. It was one of the Scope homes. And I went to see it because it was an example of not great care in our county. And it had a house in the middle of it that had netting at the back of it that you have in medium secure units for the runners. So people who wanted to run away, can I guarantee you that I'd have run as fast away from that place as my legs could have carried me. And now it's a lovely therapeutic place. It's absolutely beautiful, where people who are identified in ED can go in and be looked after while their crisis subsides. Those sorts of things I think mark us out as being very decent people who are creating decent services to remind people that their humanity matters. We launched a couple of weeks ago our newly formed integrated neighbourhood teams, and this week I'm attending the opening of the Isles of Scilly Hospital on St Mary's. Who would have thought that we would have got a new build on the Isles of Scilly with modular units that brought the care home and the hospital together with the intention to have one team trained in the same way to be able to work across their various clinical disciplines to look after their people in their own place on their own islands and not have to leave when they're dying. Just so gorgeous. So Margaret's opening the first phase of the hospital on Thursday. We have to remember that we've done all of this while we were writing off our historic debts. And 3 years into the ICB, with 3 years of financial break-even, we've had the Commissioner historic debt written off. We haven't had the provider historic debt written off, so we're supporting our providers to say parity would be nice if we could manage to get that across our system. But we're in a great position for new models of care because we have the ability to start planning for putting them in place. So we've made a difference through listening to our residents, good, bad and indifferent. We always like the nice bits, but I appreciate that sometimes people don't have nice things to say. And every month as a board, we've heard from some more than 12,000 people we've engaged with. One of the stories that stays with me most, and I'm sure many of you will have seen it, was the hearing families. So the mothers of Ben and Darren talking about how awful it is to be a mother of an older adult with a learning disability or a complex autistic presentation. We're still not very good at listening to families. And if Deborah Nines was here, she'd really thank me now. We're really not very good at listening to women around their stories of their own health, or they're advocating for the health of their loved ones. And I think that and the intersectionality of women from different places, we really do need to start looking at how we do get parity across healthcare for everybody. They've told us a lot about the challenges they face accessing healthcare, and we've listened. So Lucy and her team have done some amazing work around diabetes, information films with the British Sign Language, and improved deaf awareness training and information for staff. They've helped with setting up pain cafes and diabetes super clinics and bringing mobile dental services to veterans hubs. While we're there, I just want to talk about Finn Basson. So Finn Basson, who is the dentist at Lostwithiel, who so I was looking at my friend's Facebook thing, and on it said, "Can you believe I've been kicked off the dental list at Lostwithiel? I've been there for 11 years, and apparently I can have dental hygienist treatment for £11 a month. It's shocking." And then we had a chat, and she went, "Oh yeah, and you know, all right, actually, I don't need to have an NHS service when you put it in the way that children, older adults, and those with complex needs actually should get it first." So Finn's pilot is being evaluated, I think it's by Birmingham and Liverpool universities, but he met with Stephen Kinnock last week. He's been talking to the British Dental Association. So I think this pilot might become business as usual as we look at how we make sure that our most vulnerable people get the best from the service that we can offer. So people have told us about the impact. Some of that impact's changed their lives. Some of the changes that's had on their care and their lives, which has been incredibly powerful, both positively and negatively. And as John said, this is in a very uncertain and stressful time for our colleagues. So the people we work with, I have huge admiration for. There was the people promise that we had. Am I allowed to keep going on, John? There was the people promise that we had when we moved from the CCG to the ICB. It wasn't so much a promise, it was like delaying 18 months at the fact we'd be restructuring. So we had colleagues that lived through that. We restructured to take 30% out of the ICB's budget, and then we've just finished that and moved into new teams, and then all of a sudden we're throwing people into uncertainty again, this time to take 50% out of our budgets. People are now waiting because that won't happen this year. That is probably going to be in another year's time. So we work with incredibly resilient, kind, lovely people who are absolutely determined to do the right thing for those that they serve. So the team that we work with, I'm just very grateful for the fact that they continue doing their work in uncertain times. We're going to ask you in a few minutes to give us your thoughts on what you're most proud of. And most proud about your work in the integrated care system. To give you some inspiration, we asked our board to do a Wordle. I do love a Wordle. And these are the words that our board came up with. Now, you might have different words, and they may not be positive words, but I think what would be really nice at the end of this first 3 years of the ICB, as we segue into a new way of working across a larger geography, I'd just love to know what we think about our ICB going forward, and how we'll protect the things that we're really rightly proud of, and we'll change the things that we think we need to take action on directly. So, thank you. I've loved working with you. It's an amazing part of the world to live and work. I'm very grateful I was appointed. Thank you very much.
Jenny, I realised I omitted to have the Secretary of State present. Are we able to go back? That's a career misstep, isn't it, really? Hello, Secretary of State. Forgot all about you. Now, just before we do, this was on the back of the 10-year plan. For those of you who read it, at the very end, he had a afterward where we were named. But have a listen to this.
He looks very cross.
That's because I missed him out.
We know we can build the neighbourhood health service because teams in Cornwall, Camden, Northumbria and right here in Stratford are already showing us how to do it. So we'll take the best of the NHS to the rest of the NHS.
Name check by the Secretary of State. Well done, everyone. Yay! Okay, so we're getting towards the end of this. I hear you say thank God. So, thank you, Kate, for your reflections. As this is in its current format, the last of our AGMs, before we cluster with Devon, I want to thank you to all of you for being here today. Thank you, Kate, as I've said earlier on, but I'm not going to name check each of you, but thank you to the non-execs and associate non-execs on our board. You've guided us brilliantly, and you will as we go through to the next stage, so thank you to that. I won't use my previous metaphor. I got into trouble for it once, but Dame Vera Lynn once sang, "We'll meet again." I'm going to change the words to that song because I'm going to say, "We'll meet again. I'm not sure where, and I'm not sure when, actually, but I'm sure we will meet again. Maybe just not in its current membership and current form." I want to say incredible thank you to all of you and how proud I am on behalf of all our colleagues. And just 2 final name checks. Do you know what? This looks easy, doesn't it, really? Stand up, you're given some fantastic words and slide decks to do. And all the hard work is done by other colleagues. So, where's Lucy and Jenny? Lucy, thank you very much. And Jenny, thank you ever so much. So before we move on to the questions, my final few sets of words, which is the sort of formal ending of the bit, I bring us now to the formal ending of the part of the annual general meeting by thanking each and every one of you for participating and attending today and for your contribution over the last 3 years. Now, our ICB may be changing, but our work is not over. And our health and care colleagues across Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly, will continue to work tirelessly. The only difference now is it's going to be in greater collaboration with those in Devon, Plymouth and Torbay in order to serve our collective residents. So, that now finishes the formal part of our AGM. We'd like to hear your reflections. In order to do that, the compere is going to be Jenny, so I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, John. Before we move over to our open mic section, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask or any reflections? We have a roving mic, so Sam, who's in the pink, can come to you if anybody puts your hand up to talk to us. No. You've got to have some questions. Cream or jam on top? Okay, well, we will move on to our open mic session. So this is where we're going to be hearing from some of you in the room and hearing about some of the successes, some of the things that people have achieved over the last few years. But before I do that, hopefully this has been very tricksy today and going on the wrong slide, so apologies for that. You will probably have seen these on your tables. This is Menti. And Kate mentioned that she wanted to hear some of your thoughts. So if you go on to that, you should be able to enter your thoughts on what you're most proud of. The QR code is also on the table. If anybody is having any difficulty using that, let us know. We can always have a colleague come round to you and help you to enter your words. So I am now going to move on to our first open mic session, and that is with our place directors, or two of them, Derek Thomas and Juliet Ferris, and they're going to talk to us about integrated neighbourhood teams, which, as we've heard, is a really important part of the 10-year plan.
Wow, I feel quite emotional, I have to be honest, having listened to all of that. I don't know about you, but very proud and very emotional. And thank you to our chair and to our chief exec. Starting off, neighbourhood teams. Cornwall have had a real history around working collaboratively at a place. We've had several forays into this. You know, there's Living Well, we did Shaping Our Future. But what we've actually been able to achieve, really starting from the foundations this time with the True North, and I'm also delighted Andy's with us today, because it was starting off from we need to develop our services with our people at our place, and we need to join hands to do that in a seamless way. So first off, I want to start off with a thank you to everyone for being brave in this space, because actually we won't have achieved what we've done around neighbourhood health and neighbourhood teams without everyone standing behind us going, no, keep going. And we've had that from our national teams. We've had NHS England down joining us recently, as well as the Department of Health and Social Care, who say you're in a really good place, no matter what happens. The language may be different in the national environment, but what you're doing is the right thing for your population. So I wanted to say a big thank you for standing beside us and pushing us forward, saying please do carry on. So we talk about the context around integrated neighbourhood teams. It is not new. I'm going to say it's not new. However, this time we have got a really good framework behind us, and we've got investment. So we've got investment to actually push forward to really develop what we can see from the map. We've got 16 integrated neighbourhood teams in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. That's supported by a significant amount of funding, but we are also going to be looking at what impact we can make with that funding. So when we went out to our integrated neighbourhood teams, which mainly take the footprint of our primary care networks in Cornwall, not totally, We asked people, would you be interested in trying to put something together around how are you going to work together with all your partners? So this is with NHS Provider Trust, with very much led by our GPs in primary care, but also thinking about our other partners like our voluntary sector, who are our glue at our local place level, thinking about adult social care, thinking about our community area partnerships with our councillors. How are we all going to come together with our acute colleagues to work together to change the picture and bring services closer to home? Very much links back to those three things we heard about earlier, that hospital to community, analog to digital, and also thinking about sickness to prevention. So when we went out of our 16, 13 areas put their hand up and said, yes, we'd be interested. And because we wanted to take a test and learn approach, we worked with 5 particular areas who we thought had the maturity to go further and faster. They'd already set up and been working together as a collaborative at a place level. And those are differing sizes. So for all the national picture may be more prescriptive at the moment around what sizes they are, in Cornwall we have to really recognise our geography and where our people live. So Arsacilly is our smallest integrated neighbourhood team at 2,500, to our biggest, which is in our North Kerrier, so that's Camborne, Paul, Iluggan and Redruth, which is 70,000, and then our others are in between that sizes. A lot of people we disappointed, I think, if I'm being honest, because I think a lot of our other areas were going, why can't we go? But we wanted to take a chance where we could really innovate in a small area, but really share that learning very rapidly, and we've been able to do that so far. We've taken a real agile approach. So trying not to be too directive, we've gone, these are the areas we'd like you to look and focus on, which link back to the reform programmes that we've been really championing in Cornwall and Arsacilly. So that's around proactive frailty. How do we support those people who are older or frail in our population to really stay in their own bed as long as possible? Access and acute when they need to, but then bring them back to hospital, bring them back to home, not in a hospital setting. We also asked people to think about what would it look like for those people who are most at risk. So can you focus on those people, please? And that brings in our Brave AI. We also asked people to think about what would end of life in a proactive way look like. So rather than waiting until people were at an end-of-life position and we were trying to plan with them at that point, how can we do that much earlier? And then how do we really take the wishes for that person about where do you want to die? Where do you want to be cared for? And how do we then support your wishes? And that really goes back to this proactive approach. So rather than being reactive, really thinking about having earlier conversation with families, with the people themselves, and then putting that down in a plan that then travels with the person. One plan, one person that travels with them in a hospital setting and then back home, with all our teams wrapped around that person. So really we're a team around the person. So this is a real partnership, it's a collaboration. No one is in charge, going back to what Kate was saying about the True North. No one is in charge. Actually, the person is in charge of their own care and support. The rest of us are all wrapping around you so you can live your life the way you want to live. So to be able to do that, we've been really working hard with all our partners to align. So we're aligning all our workforce and teams to those integrated neighbourhood team areas. So that's been, most of the time, been quite okay. We've had a few tricky moments where we've gone, is it there, is it that? But we've got a real buy-in from all our system providers to actually work together in a team of teams approach. I call it our gang. Who's our gang at place that's then going to wrap around our colleagues? I'm going to pass over to Derek.
I thought you were going to stop there, Juliet, for a minute, to be honest, but that's fine. We get really, really excited and passionate about this sort of stuff, and 8 minutes is a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure how long you've left me. I think I've got about a minute. But all joking aside, a lot of what Juliet shared there is about the what, and touched on some of the how as well. And we're really, really committed to get buy-in and make sure that we are working with all of our system partners to try and get us where we need to get to. The slide there you will have seen before, I'm sure. Anyone that's come to any of these meetings before will recognise the circle and the actual model of care that we're working on. And what we've tried to create as place directors is a compelling vision of why there's something in it for everybody. And I guess our role is sort of, we call ourselves different things. I mean, we're salesmen 1 minute, we're bouncers the next, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second. because there's a whole load of enthusiasm out there at the moment. As Juliet said, 13 out of 16 INTs wanted to go straight away. What we're now finding is the work we're doing in engaging our system partners, and I'll give you some examples in a minute how broad that's gone. Everybody wants to be involved, which is great, but we are sort of having to stand at the door and say, look, your name's not down just yet, you're not coming in. You will do, but just not yet, because there is something about making sure we are having that impact and we are making a difference with the people that we're working with. So our challenges have been fourfold, really. Get buy-in, because not everybody's convinced on this just yet, but we are seeing significant improvement and we're seeing significant questions being asked, and the right questions, which is great. There's quite a lot of work to do around allaying fears. So I've not been here that long, 13 months, but I've heard a lot about 2015. I've heard a lot about living well. I've heard a lot about what's happened in 1990s. I can't do much about that, but what I can do is recognise that we can learn from the things that didn't quite work well before and do them differently this time. And I really sense there is energy in the system and our key leaders in making a huge difference. This is a culture change as well. That's really tricky and it takes time. So as much as we can put investment in, as much as we can do things differently, this is about people's mindsets, a skill and a will issue, which we're working on. And of course, there are areas of good best practice, not just in Cornwall, but elsewhere. So we need to sort of learn from that as well. So the sort of things we've been doing workshops with most people in this room. We've been working with colleagues at RCHT, at CFT, Kerno Health, CIC, out of our services. We've been working with our brilliant voluntary sector. Local authorities are plugged in. We've got the Department of Work and Pensions that want to come along. The police are asking if they can be involved. And I could go on, okay, which is fantastic because that's what we need. We're also working with our patient participation groups as well. And I know there's a few reps in the room today. Great to see you all, because we want to know what's important to the people that are going to be using the service as well. That's arguably the most important part. So we're really keen to look at innovation. We're really keen to co-design and co-produce. We've had some really great encouragement from national teams, as Juliet said, so we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And Chris and Neil and Susan were on the panel who interviewed me before I got this job, actually. First of all, great decision making, you three, thank you. The second point was they said to me at the end, if you're successful, it's probably going to be the hardest job you've ever done. And they're right, by the way, absolutely. But it's also the most exciting, and I absolutely feel privileged, actually, to be part of this journey, to look at how we can do what we need to do to reform the way that we deliver care in the county and the Isles of Scilly. So, just going to share a couple of bits, really. A phrase I've used quite a few, it's an African proverb, it's not mine, but it's being used quite a lot, and that's if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And that, for me, epitomises the way that we need to work to deliver the reform that we need to do across the county. And we've got a little video I think we're going to share from our last INT conference from Weybridge, from some of our system partners on what we've done so far and what they think of what we need to do next.
Hi, I'm Andy Mullins from the National Association of Primary Care.
And I'm Derek Thomas, I'm Place Director for Central Cornwall. Absolutely fantastic to be here today in Weybridge, spending time with over 120 system leaders across Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. All of our 16 integrated neighbourhood teams represented, which is absolutely fantastic. So much energy in the room, Andy.
Oh, it's massive. The energy in the room, even before we started, was really palpable, wasn't it? When I went round and introduced myself to lots of people in the room, the one word they used a lot was excited. People are really keen to get on with this agenda.
There's been significant changes with regards to community services. The INTs and their implementation are incredibly exciting, so that we are taking services back to the community, ensuring that people are at the heart of their communities.
So actually to see the progress from our first event to today, I think it's just actually the art of the possible, and that we can move at pace at the system has been really encouraging to see. So I'm just going to take that energy back into our organisation. It already feels like INTs are starting to come alive within our organisation. So yeah, a bit more of that, taking that energy back with us.
So we've heard fantastic things in the national team about the work that's going on in Cornwall, and how really working with grassroots integrated neighbourhood teams is enabling people to work in a very different way that's improving outcomes for people and improving better use of resources in the system. So we've heard a lot. So it's been fantastic to come down today to actually meet people.
I'm really proud of the energy that our staff at local level are really putting into the development of INTs. I'm also particularly struck by how our psychiatrists are champing at the bit, so to say, to really get involved and to ensure that mental health becomes one of the founding stones of a successful INT in this lovely county.
When we think about what neighbourhood health is really about, it is about our people coming together in communities to work more effectively with the public. And what I see here at the event today is, it's community staff, primary care staff together with social care staff and especially the voluntary sector, seeing them come together and working together about how they can work more effectively in the common interests of the same shared patients within the same population in the same communities. It's really fantastic work, and I would just encourage the teams here in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly to keep going, because the direction you're heading in is exactly where we need you to be.
I see quite a few changes, including not only that the fact that there are INTs, integrated neighbourhood teams, but that they're beginning to develop into entities where people work together. I've been particularly interested in the way they're beginning to interact with secondary care sector, and that's in its infancy, but already it seems to be doing something.
So I think the key thing that I'm going to take away from today is that I've got permission to just get on with it, which I knew we had within the INT programme, but to hear it voiced in such a way that we can just deliver what we need to locally for our community is, it's great to see.
There's just a huge opportunity to spread learning right from the northeast to the Lizard or wherever, and really try and build that learning across the country about what works and what are some of the barriers that we could actually look at nationally that can really help.
And I think there's so much positivity, not just about the excitement, but I think people have got some great ideas on how we can start to build this together and continue that journey. So hopefully people have had a great day. I look forward to meeting again in due course. We're going to be doing a lot of work together anyway. And here's to the next one, whenever that might well be.
Looking forward to it.
Videos are being a bit naughty today, aren't they? So we're going to hear a bit more about some of the work of our integrated neighbourhood team. So our next two speakers are Dr. Stuart Smith from St Austell Healthcare and Dr. Neil Mackay from Three Spires Practice.
Thanks very much, Jenny. I actually have a recurring nightmare about being on a stage with a guitar for an open mic and not being able to do anything. I know Derek loves the limelight of that sort of thing, but perhaps not me. But look, I think what's really important about this model is that it isn't a medical, clinical model. And so it's great to have Emma here and Seb as well, who was mentioned earlier, because it really is a joint cross-sector collaboration on doing what's best for our neighbourhoods. And I think within that, we've already got really good working examples of that real sweet spot where it's great for patients, it's great for organisations, it's great for staff, and it's great for the taxpayer too. And I could pick from a number of 20 different things we've got going on in the INT sphere to say how that's making a difference already. But I thought I'd just talk a little bit about our paediatric MDT work with RCHT. So I'm going a little bit rogue here because I know that the focus is a lot on frailty and end of life, and I know Neil's going to talk a bit more about frailty. So I think I'm just going to concentrate on that kind of preventative early years bit as well. So for a few months now, we've been doing a monthly MDT with Tom Fontaine, who's one of the RCHT paediatricians. And rather than referring people up to RCHT to be seen in a traditional outpatient setting, and what we've been doing is one of our partners and paediatric nurses has been talking to Tom about all of the referrals and streamlining that process. So in the data so far, Tom has managed to reduce his outpatient work from 12 PAs down to 3 in that process. So it's better for Tom and it's better for RCHT's capacity. But
I did that MDT last month, and I have 22 patients who were referred. Tom needed to see 2 of those patients. Now, one of those was streamlined to be seen the next week, and the rest of those patients had either answers, investigations, or a management plan. Well, from a maximum of only 4 weeks of being referred, when that would have taken months before. And actually, when we looked at those patients, around half of them had previous child protection issues. So they are patients from our poorest neighbourhoods often, who are, by definition, more likely to be struggling with school attendance, and with parents who are going to struggle to get them up to hospital, either financially or because of travel restrictions around their jobs or access to transport. So it's good for patients, it's good for RCHT, it's great for our team as well because we're learning and sharing that earning, and it's good for the taxpayer and the Cornish economy. So that's just one example. I've got a couple of colleagues with me. I know that Kate mentioned Seb's great work earlier. Seb is with our health and wellbeing team, and as Kate mentioned, has been adopting a new approach to chronic pain, something again that we'll all be familiar with in our GP surgeries and our communities, and frankly where we've let people down over the years by medicalising often what is a more social problem, or by just doling out tablets that can cause more harm than good. I was hoping that Seb might just be able to share 1 or 2 of the stories of the patients that he's helped over the recent months, because I've genuinely seen complete transformation in people who, frankly, I thought it was almost hopeless for. Seb, do you want to just explain what you've been doing?
Hello, my name is Sebastian, and I'm working with the mental health and well-being team. And what we've been doing is quite a new approach. We are in the makes of creating, hopefully, our first pain self-management service within primary care within our practices. But at least we're starting with offering a couple of interventions. One is a pain self-management program, an 11-week program that we offer for patients with chronic pain. And at the same time, we're also delivering the Pain Cafe, which is a different approach, which is co-created with the community. And it's funny that we saw the wave before, because having worked as well before with survivors of a tsunami in Chile, I know the importance of community when it comes to creating health. And in that same way, we've have a few stories of people that have done the pain self-management program and at the same time are attending continuously and consistently our pain cafes. One of them, let's call her Miss S. Imagine this 30-year-old young lady that has been struggling with type 2 diabetes, obesity, with ill mental health with depression for 6 years, fibromyalgia, recurrent migraines, endometriosis, right? You name it. High doses of opioids, gabapentinoids as well. And through doing the course, reluctantly, as she would actually tell us, she managed to finish the program, carried on her work with the Pain Cafe afterwards, on and off, to the point that she has now lost 5.5 stone. She has left a wheelchair that she came to visit us the first time into the pain management program. Then she has managed to leave the home, which she wasn't doing for years, and she found a new job, right? We have as well Mr. M, another young man, 35 years of age, housebound because of ill mental health for over 20 years plus chronic pain, and at the same time, other conditions like fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and he has managed to, through the work that we've done together, leave the house. Now he's attending courses, he's out in the world again after 20 years. He's been more indoors than outside. And like that, we have other stories of success of like Mrs. A, that she actually managed to leave all her opioids and gabapentinoids as well, and it's been a great, a great opportunity to see this development. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so that second patient is somebody I used to visit in his bedroom and barely left his bedroom for 15 years from the age of 15. And now Seb's got him at singing groups and he's out and about. I just couldn't believe it when he greeted me in the surgery the other day. It made me quite emotional. So And then what I really want to also impress on is that this really is a joint effort. I think the absolute jewel in our crown in Cornwall is the vibrancy of our VCSE. And as GPs, I think we know our communities, but these guys really, really do and live and breathe it. And I just wonder whether Emma might just say a few words about how we've been working together in our steering group and co-designing what comes next.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Stuart. Hi, I'm Emma Langford from Cornwall Neighbourhoods for Change, manager for the St Austell branch. The work has begun. The value that the volunteer sector can bring to the integrated teams is immeasurable. So we've started looking at the frailty and the end of life. We are now looking at designing end-of-life cafes, looking at it from a very informal and a formal point of view for people who need support around designing their own end of days. And we're also looking at developing a train-the-trainer program for the falls prevention as well with Safe for Cornwall. I'm just looking forward to the developments that are about to follow. So yeah, let's just get on with it. The work has begun. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Look, we've got amazing momentum here, and I think as we heard reference to some previous programs that we've done in Cornwall before, I think the challenge for this room is we've just got to hold, with all this big change that's coming in terms of cluster, we've just got to keep going with this work and really spread it to this amazingly enthusiastic group of primary care and VCSE colleagues who want to really get on and deliver what's best for our patients. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Hi. So I'm Neil Mackay, one of the GPs here in Truro, but I've got Stuart's role for the Truro INT. Just to give you a bit of a flavour, really, of where we are, where we've come to, where we are now, and I think some of the sort of aspirations of what we're trying to do over the next 6 to 12 months or so. In looking back a year ago, when we first started all the meetings and the planning, you'd never imagine that we'd get to where we are now. And it's been such a huge change to look at the way all the parts of the teams, the community, the town, the city, all existed, but I think we probably didn't realise who was out there or what you were thinking of or what you could do. One of the big things for us that when we started the meetings was actually thinking of how lucky we were, I suppose in Truro particularly, of the geography. Now a lot of that does come back talking about, we've all referenced Andy a lot today, and to say thank you again to him. 15 years ago the health park got built, and that was Andy's baby from the beginning. And actually now it's pulling together, making all these things so much easier for us. The penny dropped that actually you've got the district nurses living upstairs. You've got CAMS and mental health team downstairs through a door. You've got the adult mental health services on another floor. And actually when we begun to get to know these people and realise that you're all working in the same place, you're all working with the same town, the same group of individual patients and people needing you, but actually you don't have to do a referral form. You haven't got to wait for a meeting. You just go next door and ask someone. And that made a huge difference to beginning to unlock this concept. And what's happened over time is it started off as the GPs, and then it's widened to CFT and the community teams, and then now the voluntary team, and then the council, and then paediatrics and mental health. And actually, over 3 or 4 months, it's exploded to breaking down all those boundaries that used to exist that would stop us doing things. And now, actually, when a problem comes up, we've realised that all you've got to do is go and ask somebody. Or if you don't know, you find the person who does and ask them. And actually, those days of hiding behind who works for whom and who's in which team don't actually matter anymore. And that's made a massive difference for us. So bringing that forward now 6 months, we were lucky enough to pick one of the Wave 1 sites. There was a lot more investment, lots more encouragement, lots more, I suppose, input and suggestion. And what we've done, just to give you a few ideas of where we are in Truro, is focus particularly on frailty. And I'll introduce Richard, who I think some of you probably know, from various meetings and time around, has come to join us as the lead of our new frailty team. So looking particularly, thinking of end of life, but frailty and frailer patients, we've expanded that now to include our community matrons, our district nursing team, a bespoke frailty team, and then some frailty GP input, and hopefully soon to be some input from the geriatricians as well. The idea being using Brave and all the things we've spoken about before to actually proactively review between about 120 to 140 patients a week is the idea. Now these patients are going to be picked out for being those most at risk or often isolated, maybe not on the GP registered. We all know those people are bouncing out of hospital all the time. We're looking for the people just a little bit lower, a little bit different, who may be going to be sick or need help, not on the radar as much. And they will be contacted, seen, reviewed, and then looking at actually what do they want, what do their families want, what can we do differently to make a change for them now, in 3 months, 6 months down the line, when they do become ill. And that work is going to have, hopefully, a huge impact on day-to-day life, but also the wider system. Yes, we know we've got to be aware of Trelisk and the acute trusts and all the other issues, but we want these people to have a better last couple of years, to be able to be where they should be in the situation they want, with their families making the right decisions beforehand, so it's not a panic at 3 in the morning when you've got an ambulance called out. And I think looking at how that work is starting, how it's developing, it's going to make a big difference, and it already is. Another big part of that is, I think, looking at things differently, breaking down those silos we talked about, but actually looking at one big team. And I know a big part of big drive for Rich is actually, you're not part of the acute care team today, or the hospital at home today, or a district nurse. Actually, we're all doing the same job, and if you can help each other out, you can do something differently. You can call on some help, and already loads of conversations with the voluntary sector and the support and agencies out there that we didn't even know existed, who can step in and can fill a gap and can help support people, is making a massive difference. So that has been a big focus for us, and it's something that is beginning to already make an impact. And individual stories, the culture's changing. People are thinking differently about, do you really want to go to hospital, or actually could we keep you here, or could we do something differently to look after you for a couple of days just to buy you some time to get out of trouble. Another big focus for us is mental health. Now, speaking honestly about Truro, mental health care here has been difficult for a while. It's no individual's fault, just the way the system has been. It's been quite hard going for a few years. I think there's been quite a lot of disillusionment amongst maybe in the practice, and actually just because of vacancies and gaps. So we've made that a real focus for the team, and everyone we've spoken to is really, really passionate about buying into it. Now, we're lucky to have the Nest, as you mentioned a few times, and that's opened on our patch, and close relationships with Chaos and Katie and that team that have been doing a lot of work from that side of things, but also meeting at, we've now got a new psychiatrist who's moved into the patch, getting to know our CAMS team, and we're lucky enough that the CAMS group have become part of our steering group. So a big focus for the steering team has been on child and adolescents and youngsters, and we've recently brought in some educational support as well from the Special Partnership Trust. So Pencollenic School and some of the others are also involved in the steering group, so they can give us advice and suggestions and input and a different steer on what we can do and how things can be different. And one of the big focuses that's coming up in the next, well, hopefully 6 months, will be a wellness centre. Similar to Dracaena. Yes, we are ruthlessly copying what they've done in Falmouth and Penryn because it works so well, but trying to do something in Boscawen Park. So Truro City Council have been really helpful. They've been very involved with us, and they would love the idea of having a centre which is for physical and emotional well-being. Voluntary sector, our input, Man Down, lots of other groups are going to join in. And we're hoping, I don't know if people are aware, there's a new sports facility being built in Boscawen Park. Adjacent to that, the council have given us permission to build something, or to convert a building down there to hopefully, it's got to get through one more meeting in September, but to then have a very visible centre down there in the park for everything, from physical health, emotional health, psychiatric care, and everything back, but more preventative. We're trying to get in early before people are in a crisis to make a difference. So there's lots of good things, lots and lots of work still to be done, but I think there's a definite change across the patch with the culture and conversations and support. Am I right for time, or do you want me to? Yeah. Just to let you know about any other things that are going on. The biggest other thing that's coming in the pipeline soon is going to be some of the MSK work. Now we're lucky again that we've got quite a good setup with physiotherapists and MSK doctors in the surgery. But actually, again, we're trying to widen that out to be much more preventative. So rather than dealing with people at the end when it's not too late, but when they're unwell or they're frail, to get in earlier with some more physical and emotional changes. And there's a plan to run one of the community access clinics from an MSK point of view. So again, using the health park, we're lucky. It's a big, shiny building with space, but actually bringing in some of the physio, some of the MSK team, some of the what do you want to get out of today, what do you need, but also having all of the partners in the voluntary sector there as well to be able to see people as part of that one appointment. So they would come in to be seen from the orthopaedic waiting list, but also have a review with, hopefully, depending on who we can persuade to come and invite, Healthy Cornwall and some of the other agencies who could help provide some support and care for those people, so they're not just coming in to have an appointment for a new knee, but actually making some big changes to life and how they go forward. So, all right. So, anything? That's us for Truro, I think, unless there's more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great to hear it. And my team is looking forward to sharing some of what you're doing with the wider public in some media moments that we're planning to have in the next few weeks, just to highlight the work of the integrated neighbourhood teams. Now, we've heard a bit about our community health and wellbeing workers today. They have been gaining national attention, as we heard even mentioned in the national 10-year plan for the NHS. So here to tell us a bit more about some of the successes recently is Donna Rowe from the ICB.
Right, can everyone see me? Always my challenge. I need a stool, I think. Thank you for giving me time again this year to update you where we've got to with our community health and wellbeing worker programme. But my first thing, sorry Andy, I've got to mention Andy again, because when we started on looking at the community health worker model in 2022, it was Andy and myself who sort of took some of that leadership, Andy with his clinical leadership, to get it really signed up to by all of our partners. So thank you to Andy. We've also got the real heroes and experts here. We've got Naomi and Helen. Are they still here? Oh, can you stand up just at the back there? These are two of our community health workers who are here today from the Carrier team. But these are the guys who really know what's going on the ground. So thank you everyone, both of you, for being here today. One is it? Hold on. Oh, here we go. So I've got a few slides. I won't keep you too long, but I just really wanted to... that's the wrong slide. I want that one. Bear with me. Where's the thing? Where am I pointing to? Over here? There we go. So I'll get that. This is the slide I want. It's not going to change. So I really just wanted to point out the 4 distinct characteristics of the community health and wellbeing worker model that makes it unique. And the parts come from Brazil. So it's called the CHUI principles, the CHUI. So you may hear our community health and wellbeing workers called CHUIs, and that's based on the acronym of these 4 principles. So the role is comprehensive. It's all ages that the community health workers work with. It's hyper-local. So they have distinct communities they work with, around 120 households. So it's all ages, all households, universally proportionate. So the minimum input that community health workers will have is once a month. Once a person has decided to work with their community health worker, that community health worker will check in with them every month. However, if a person needs a little bit more support, then the community health worker will give more time to those individuals that need it. And that's normally... there's no time limit, but it's normally, not forever, that intensity of support, but until that individual is more stabilised and sorted. And then it's integrated, so that close working with the GP practices, the community teams, the voluntary sector, etc. So those are the 4 key principles. And since last year we talked about our scaling up, we've now reached our scaling up situation. We've now got 60 community health workers in 9 locations across Cornwall, working with 12 voluntary sector organisations or host organisations. So we've spent this year consolidating, getting those teams supported, functioning, working with the voluntary sector organisations to support them as well as the community health workers. We also know, and I think we had this last year actually, this data, that our community health workers have seen an improvement in the residents they're working with, their residents' well-being by about 90% of improvement, which is the biggest improvement that the outcome measure tool that we've used has seen in any other service they've measured and worked with. And we're currently in the middle of a second evaluation, 2 years on, with 400 residents' data. So we're actually talking about that this week, and it's coming back with very similar results at the moment. Actually, that's the wrong slide. Oh my God. Anyway, there we go. That's the scaling up, so we've got two. So this was the next slide I wanted to show you is, keep making. So it's not that one, that's community, that's that one. The impact. So this is just a one slide to show you the impact that we're seeing. Sorry, it might not be able to see all of that. So this is based on one of our GP practices in St Austell, the data over 2 years, what it's showing us at the moment, and we're still working on building this up. This is an emerging picture. We're seeing reductions in ED attendance, around 5% at the moment. We know in Westminster, they've seen 7 to 11% reduction, but they've been going a little bit longer than us. So we are definitely following their data. We've seen referrals in adult community services in St Austell drop by 40%. We've seen GP face-to-face contacts go down by 39%. These are for residents who have got a community health worker compared to those who are eligible to have one but aren't working with a community health worker yet, and then the rest of the population. We've seen non-face-to-face GP contacts, that's at 34%. We've seen an increase in bowel screening, although St Austell has particularly focused on bowel screening with a pilot within RCHT to improve bowel screening uptake, and an increase in flu vaccinations. So we're collecting all the data. This is just a snapshot at the moment, and we're keeping on collecting this and measuring it as we go. And then just very quickly, I know Kate mentioned it earlier, and John, the treatment to prevention, the community health worker model is so beautifully placed for that movement of treatment to prevention, and that's the core role of the community health workers. And then also the hospital to community, moving work out into the community. So just that's a real whiz through. I'm not going to keep you too long, but we've got a little video here to introduce you to the 3 most recent community health workers who were recruited early this year into Liskeard.
We introduced the community health worker model into Cornwall in 2023. The model community health and wellbeing worker is actually brilliantly suited for the NHS strategic shifts of hospital to community and treatment to prevention.
I've been in this role for about 6 months now, and basically it includes going around to a particular postcoded area and supporting all of the households in that area and everyone in that household, whether it's, you know, a newborn baby or a 97-year-old lady. And it's just going to all those houses and making sure everyone in there is getting the support they need, whether that's mental health support or help with benefits or housing.
It's bringing support to people that they might not necessarily know about, or they struggle to get the right support. So we can explore avenues where maybe they haven't thought about it. We can also, if they invite us in for a cup of tea, maybe we can spot something that they hadn't thought about and like try and introduce them to that. Being part of the community centre as well, we've got various groups going on here. So we've introduced some of our residents into them groups to get them out of the house. And yeah, it's plugging a gap between the GPs and the community.
I used to work for the NHS and another team for this, but our service, it was a community service, it was only for 2 weeks, and I felt really restricted in that. I felt like we'd do what we needed to do, we'd offer the support, and then we'd then discharge that patient, and I felt like there was so many other needs that person needed, and we were helpless with that because we had to then move on to the next caseload. And so hearing about the community health and wellbeing workers and that there's no time limit, it just inspired me and filled me full of passion to actually, okay, we can actually support these people on a long-term basis.
So once a month I facilitate a community practice meeting, and that's essentially facilitating some peer support, facilitating that supervision between each other so that they feel supported, they can discuss challenging cases. We provide lots of training, personal safety training, boundaries training, mental health support, anything we can to give them the tools and the confidence to be able to have those conversations in a really safe way. and then also encourage debriefs when they get back. Some of the situations that the TUIs come across can be really complex, and we want the TUIs to know that they're supported going into that, so it's not just on their shoulders. There's a massive team around them and behind them supporting them to be able to do this really complex but really important work.
And can I just have one shout out? But so really exciting development happening in September is that Cornwall's going to be hosting the second national conference for community health workers at the Eden Project. So that's really exciting. So we're looking forward to inviting 100 or so community health workers down to Cornwall for that. That's the end.
Thank you, Donna. Quite a few of our most recent guests have been talking about Dr. Andy May and the difference that he's made. And he's asked if he could come along and just say a few words about the success of the ICB. So over to you, Andy.
I do apologise for hijacking the stand. Lots of you will be totally unsurprised by this. My history precedes me. So I just wanted to reflect on the days when I worked in the CCG, how now look at the culture and the value set in this ICB, what you guys have done. I remember the True North event, and what you've done is you've taken our mantra and you've welcomed it, you've adopted it, and you've made it better. And you're now delivering with the ICB. So the fact that Donna's with a Brazilian model, I'll say this out loud, and we sat down together, we read it as like, okay, this makes sense, let's do it. And then she's gone and done it. It's a real, you should be so proud of yourselves. So what I was going to say, when you join our partners in Devon, whatever you do not lose your new culture, your new value set, because that value set and that culture is going to see you through whatever happens next. And congratulations, guys, because it's not easy when you're at the top table to manage the passion and the excitement that we all have about the work we do and what our day jobs. These guys somehow have to unpick all of this stuff and deliver the goods, and they've done really, really well. So well done, team. Cheers.
Thank you, Andy. And there will be an opportunity if anybody else has any reflections to come and talk to us and talk to the room at the end. So you saw in one of our earlier slides that our collaborative work with the VCSE sector has gained national attention, even helped to win our ICS and a national NHS Parliamentary Award. And here to talk to us about that and about the Community Gateway is Kate Mitchell from Age UK Cornwall and Isles of Scilly.
Delighted to be here. I just realised that this is my first year anniversary of working with Age UK, and my boss, Tracy Roos at the back, decides to volunteer me for speaking in a room full of very distinguished people. So thanks for that, Tracy. Just wanted to reflect, we've talked a lot about the NHS plan and prevention. And actually, when we filter through the plan, and I promise I've read every single word and every single page, these are the key themes that come up around prevention. And actually, when I look at those and I reflect on the role of the voluntary sector, I think actually that is our bag. That's our comfort zone. That's what the voluntary sector does really well. And that's the offer that we've got to developing INTs and our neighbourhood community health. And I just wanted to reflect, before I talk a little bit more about the Community Gateway, on the voluntary sector as a whole. And actually, I think we're really, really lucky in Cornwall because we are truly seen as being part of the solution and being an equal partner in solving how we prevent ill health and how we support the well-being of our population. So thank you to the room for that and to our system for that, because the voluntary sector, I really do feel, is seen as being different now. We are absolutely an equal member, and our skills and expertise are around all those things around well-being, individual health, population health. We know how to support people to develop their own support plans. We know an awful lot about engaging people and networking people down to their communities at place so they can get support to be resilient individuals, resilient neighbourhoods, resilient communities. We know all about choice and control. We know all about supporting people to do things that matters to them. We've got a huge amount of expertise and skills to bring to the table. So use us more. That's my challenge to the room. Use us more, challenge us more. We can be part of the solution here. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the Community Gateway and to give a bit of a shout out to our formal partners who are members of the Gateway. Our partners, many are in the room today. We've got a bit more information with our table there behind Susie. Actually, the Community Gateway is a bit of an achievement in terms of brave commissioning, I think, by the ICB. It's really unusual for any contract to be 5 years. This is a voluntary sector contract that's 5 years in length. That is absolutely crucial in terms of how we can invest in our services, invest in our people, develop bold and ambitious plans. There's another challenge. If the voluntary sector has longer contract lengths, we can do far more. We can provide more effective, more efficient services. And absolutely, we're a gateway to information, advice. We're a gateway to independence. We're lucky in that we're not bound by clinical pathways, diagnoses, or conditions. We're able to see the person behind the conditions, to have that really important, personalised, holistic, what matters to you conversation. We're really, really skilled at that. And there's a couple of quotes there. And I just want to mention that whilst it seems simple for our Gateway team members who are on the telephone, who are out in the community talking and meeting with people, it seems quite easy that we have a guided conversation. We have a conversation about what matters to that person in front of us. But actually, most of you will know in the room that the issues and challenges that people face in the community are really complex. And the Community Gateway, because they've got that partnership collaborative there of those organisations, they're well equipped to have complex conversations around finance, housing, social connections, isolation, loneliness, frailty, how we can support people into the network of community assets like community hubs, paying cafes, and how many services here are open every single day of the year, 8 in the morning to 8 at night. I think that's remarkable. A couple of years ago, I don't think we would have thought that the voluntary sector was able to be there. We're there at the end of the phone on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, every bank holiday. It just puts the voluntary sector on a slightly different footing. Here's some of our achievements before the next speaker comes up. Just wanted to flag a couple of them, and I flagged again the Gold Award that we got working in collaboration with voluntary sector, NHS and adult social care. This is one of our proudest achievements last year, and I love the quote there: for individuals and teams who go above and beyond to improve outcomes and experiences for people. And that feels as if that's been the theme for today, and that feels as if that's the culture of Cornwall, and we need to continue doing that and do that more. So the Community Gateway, we've achieved last year over 55,000 connections, conversations, talking to people face to face, responding to emails, talking to people on the telephone, solving problems, supporting over 5,000 people to develop their own support and action plans based on what matters to them. What can we do to support you to solve your problems, your issues today? What can we do to support you to solve them tomorrow? How can we anticipate what might come up as an issue next month, next year? Managing huge amounts of referrals from our adult social care NHS colleagues, supporting over 860 hospital discharges, the voluntary sector being an active participant in supporting timely discharges is something to be cherished and to be proud of. We can really add value at every stage in the pathway. And through that discharge support, it's almost been 34,000 support hours that the Community Gateway has offered, our voluntary sector partners have offered and provided. A couple of weeks ago, we had a bit of an excitement around the Age UK offices where our 1,000th personal health budget was issued. Now, 2 years ago, Age UK, the Community Gateway, did not issue PHBs. PHBs are hugely integral to personalisation, to allowing individuals to have control and choice and independence. And we're really, really proud of that and welcome having more budgets to increase our reach. And we've supported over £500,000 worth of additional benefits, like attendance allowance, in supporting people to access the benefits that they're entitled to access. We're going to be hearing shortly much more detail from our Commissioner Jessie about Workwell, but this is another recent and new service that the Community Gateway have been implementing in the last 9 months or so. We're incredibly proud of the partnership. It's one of, I won't spoil Jessie's thunder, but it is one of a pilot sites which is really important because we're the only pilot site out of 15 where it's delivered through voluntary sector. And so far, we've supported over 550 individuals to develop their work and health action plans to enable people to thrive in work, to return to work. Just reflecting on the current context, the difficulty in terms of the challenges, the opportunity around the restructure of the ICB, our workforce needs us, our workforce needs Workwell to support it. And actually, it's really interesting that our Workwell participants said that without Workwell, 42% of them would have been going to our GP. So that's another really key take-home message around the value of the voluntary sector in terms of how we can prevent demand on health and social care. We can reduce demand on health and social care services, and we can delay that demand on health and social care services. So please keep challenging, involving the voluntary sector. There's so much more that we can offer. And please, let's keep having those personalised conversations with individuals to find out what matters to them and have those conversations as early as possible in their journey through health and social care so we can maximise the outcomes we can achieve for people. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Well, that sort of brings us quite nicely on to our next speakers, who are part of the Workwell programme. So we have Jessie Lee and Susie Smith, who are coming to tell us a bit more about the work that they've been doing since the pilot began.
Thank you, Jenny. And thank you, Kate. What a brilliant proceeding. It's like we planned it, or somebody did. Thank you, Lucy. It's a real privilege to be invited to speak here today. I joined the ICB just 1 year ago, so on the latter end of the journey that Kate talked us through. And I think you guys did a brilliant job at the True North, because my 3 words on the Mentimeter were personalisation, shared values and system working. And I think you can see that in pretty much everything that's been spoken to here today, and I hope you see it in Workwell. Workwell has been a complete team effort, and there are too many people to say thank you to, lots of you in this room and beyond. I will prime you all, though. I'm hoping to enlist everyone in this room to leave as a Workwell champion, so be ready to say yes when Susie asks at the end. I'm going to start, actually, because you've been attentively listening for a long time, by asking for a little bit of audience participation. So please, could you put your hand up if anyone that you love has ever had a health struggle that's affected their work? Yeah, okay. please could you be brave and put your hand up if you've ever had a health struggle at any point in your life that's affected your ability to work. Marvellous. Thank you, because I do think we need brilliant role modelling of opening that conversation. Too often this gets framed about is getting people off benefits, isn't it? But it's really for all of us. Now, I've just realised there's a clicker and I've been failing to. There you go. Lovely branding. Thank you. So having... Oh dear.
No swearing.
No. Okay, go on. There we go. You're not alone, basically, those of you that put your hand up. So here in Cornwall, we've got over 1 in 20 people of working age are economically inactive because of ill health. And we've got similar numbers who are managing work-limiting health conditions in their jobs, in the organisations that we're all part of. And increasingly, they're not managing. They're falling out of work and out of the labour market altogether. You can see the figures there, scary forecasts. Once people leave work because of ill health, they're 3 times less likely to ever return to the labour market. And that's a problem for health outcomes because worklessness is widely researched and proven to be terrible for your health and life expectancy. It's also bad news for our economy because without the healthy workforce, we simply won't drive the good growth that we're wanting to achieve and that will pay for these public services that we're all involved in delivering. So we think there's a really compelling case. This has to change. So we were utterly delighted that Cornwall and Isles of Scilly was selected as one of 15 ICBs to pilot new solutions. Big thanks to brilliant partnership working led by our Chief People Officer, Patrick Weir, to pull partners together to make that happen. Being a WorkWell pilot involves a number of commitments. One is a strategic function to drive the integration of health services and employment support in place. And the other is delivering a trial WorkWell service, which is really testing how personalised coaching and support can prevent people from falling out of work due to ill health or help them back in quickly if they have. And that WorkWell service launched here last October thanks to some brilliant intensive mobilisation by Gateway partners. And as Kate has said, supported over 550 people so far, a whopping 98% of whom say they're satisfied with the service, which is just astonishing really, and achieving good outcomes. It fits the channel shift that we've heard spoken about here absolutely brilliantly. It's about prevention, stopping people falling out of work or getting them back in quickly through community-based coaching. And we're absolutely delighted to be adding a package of digital support. So we have here, I think, Prasanna and the team from Serena in the room, if you want to give a wave, Prasanna. We have introduced a WorkWell Cornwall mental health app. You can now find it in the App Store and Google stores. It's free, accessible anytime, anywhere, cognitive behavioural therapy. So please do promote this widely in your organisations, family and friendship networks. And as part of that digital package, we have also, thanks to Susie, who has done an absolutely brilliant job demonstrating just how important comms is to connect people with the services that we provide. We have a video explainer, and I thought rather than me waffle on any longer, you might like to hear from people in their own words what WorkWell is and how it's supporting them.
Trying to show that
I'm so glad it's not just me struggling with the clicker.
Okay. I'll make it play.
I wonder if the lovely man who made the other video play might come to our rescue.
WorkWell is a support service for anyone and everyone who is finding it a struggle to work because of their health. So that might be people who are in work and have a job but are struggling because of a health condition, which could be mental or physical, or people who've recently fallen out of work because of health and want to get back. You can access support from Workwell just directly yourself. You don't need to be referred, but you can also be referred by a doctor, maybe your line manager or someone you're working with, or a friend or family member.
We will be kind of assessing what we know that we've got in our hub that can support you, and one of those programs could be Workwell. We could then put a plan together, a guided plan on what you would like to do and take those next steps and what that looks like.
If people are out of work, we can also support people with CV writing, interview techniques, lots of organisations that we can signpost people to, specifically there to support those people.
I'm an ex-farrier, 30 odd years of doing it. Basically, wear and tear has got me, so I had to stop and find something else to do. The coaches were really helpful. They gave me ideas of where I wanted to go, what I thought I could do. It's helping with mental health, it's helping getting you to do something and trying to get you back into work. I've started making ornaments and jewellery from old horseshoes. Once I start something, I'm blinkered. I forget everything else, so I don't worry about the pain. I'm just focused on one thing. It gets me through the day. With the Workwell programme, they've helped me purchase items that I haven't had, a new forge. They've put me through a silversmithing course. They've invested in me, so hopefully I can then go ahead and invest more in myself.
I've had quite a few jobs throughout my life. My trade is I'm a stone worker. I've been through a number of different support networks for going back into employment. At the moment, I'm exploring all different avenues of training. One of the avenues of training I'm doing is plant machinery. So I've driven all these type of things throughout my career, but obviously in this day and age you have to be ticketed and insured, so I'm getting qualified in all the aspects of machinery that I'm going to need to support my work. If I'm not sure about anything or I need help, I touch base, and then there would be a discussion as to how Workwell can help me, and it's quite prompt, quite quick. And that's one of the biggest things I've found with Workwell is the efficiency and the productivity in that regard is outstanding.
It's a really difficult thing, I think, feeling like you're struggling. Work is often the thing that gives us a sense of purpose as an individual, and the idea that you might be struggling so much that you can't stay in work, I think can be really overwhelming. My advice is pick up the phone. The colleagues on the end of the Gateway helpline and in the Workwell coaching team are really sympathetic. They're brilliant at having personalised conversations. They create a really safe space where you're able to share the things that matter to you. I would just encourage anybody to pick up the phone.
When we get back to the slides, what you will hear about is some of Susie's brilliant campaigns efforts, which have been helping us to connect more people to Workwell support. And you might need to do it without the slides, Susie.
I might indeed. Okay, so I've been leading on the comms for Workwell for about 6 months now, and it's been a really hard and fast turnaround to try and get the programme in the sort of the public awareness more than anything really. And it's been a case of relying on things like tried and tested methods that as a comms team we know work really well, and then trying to be innovative and creative and inspiring so that we can draw some attention really quickly to what we're doing. And we've needed that more than ever with something which is completely brand new. This is marketing in a slightly different way because we're marketing as commissioners, which means that we are marketing in a way which relies on our partners to work with us. This isn't just a case of me popping out some social media posts, but me really developing those relationships with the key people that are going to help us share and spread those messages far and wide. And it's about aligning everything that we do with the key messages of our 10-year plan and those 3 key missions as well, which is why digital has become such a focus for us. And again, as Jessie said, it's great to have the Serena team here who've been instrumental in helping us develop a new mental health app for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. So every step, because I'm a little bit geeky actually, is measured and monitored and analysed, because what we all want out of this pilot programme is to be an exemplar for how work well should be done properly, and we have the opportunity to do that. So how are we doing that? We're doing it in a range of different marketing techniques. Digital's really high up there. So yes, we're going to be launching a brand new app helping people to manage their own mental health, and also it's a sneaky way of us getting a few extra referrals in as well. And we've got the hero video that we've been working really hard on the messaging. It's all very well for us to explain what we do, but the people who explain it best are that 98% of people who use the service and say it's great. So that's why it's so important that we have those hero videos so people can explain what they're doing. And even interviewing some of those people have had like goosebump moments. We're utilising our usual methods such as social media advertising and digital displays, etc. But we can't forget the good old traditional marketing. So there you will hear radio ads, you will see it on the front of newspapers. I will be printing out those posters and putting it on a business card, because they're still really important for a great section of our audience. Partnerships is so key. As I said, we are commissioners, so the partners that we work with are paramount in helping us spread and share those messages, and it's about developing those relationships so that we can spread that work well message in a viral way. And we've also been doing sort of new and innovative things, such as Jessie's been working really hard to build a relationship with the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to be creating employer champions so that they can go out and spread the message for us. I mean, you could say it's lazy marketing, I'm just getting lots of other people to do it for me, but you know, potato, potato. And stakeholder marketing. So I want all the people that are in our network. So we'll be speaking to our MPs, we'll be speaking to our INTs, we'll be speaking to social prescribers, we'll be speaking to pretty much anyone that will let us speak to them, to be honest. But it will be about talking to all those stakeholders and saying, come on guys, get on board, this is fantastic. Branding is so much more than me colouring in and putting together a nice little logo. What we want from a brand is a sense of belonging, understanding, and when somebody is an employer champion, they are proud to put up the Work Well Cornwall and Isles of Scilly logo, because that stands for something. And when somebody says, oh, I've gone through the Work Well programme and it made a huge difference to me, they'll share that logo and it'll be in their minds as something that they recognise. So that brand and that sense of being part of something has been really, really important. And that messaging, we've constantly refined the messaging so it doesn't sound corporate, it doesn't sound clinical, and it sounds like you're just saying to your mate, come on, this is something that you need to really help you. And finally, we are everywhere that people are. So we've really looked at how many events there are. And again, that's been a huge part of our partners. We're a small team as part of the ICB. So the partners that we work with, it's also a lot about the events that they go to. So we constantly utilise those to try and spread as many messages as we can. So we've got hopefully with that 3-year extension funding, we'll be able to do even more exciting things. And hopefully you'll never get bored of hearing Work Well, because you're going to be hearing it a lot.
If you want to find out more, there's a stand and some flyers. I bet you all employ people. I bet you've all got networks. Please help us get the word out that Work Well is there to help.
Thank you, Jessie and Susie. We are going to hear next from Bianca Mills at Royal Cornwall Hospital. She's the Head of Research and Development. We've been hearing a little bit about how great we are at innovating here in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. And Bianca is going to talk to us about the Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Commercial Research Delivery Centre. And hopefully the technology is going to behave a bit better for her.
Shall I test it? There we go. Oh, gone a bit far. It's just slow, isn't it? Okay. There we are. So, good afternoon. I will be as quick as I can. Jenny has warned me that I have 8 minutes and I have 17 slides, so bear with me. So I'm the Head of Research and Development at the Royal Cornwall Hospital, and I'm here today to talk about research in Cornwall, and specifically the Commercial Research Delivery Centre for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Oh my gosh, it's really bouncing all over the place. So, if I do say so myself, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly do punch above their weight when it comes to research. So here is an example, which I just showed to Andrew earlier today, of our activity. This is just the acute organisation to say as well, for 24-25, where RCHT recruited 4,394 participants, which it's not about competition, but when you look against the other acute organisations across the South West Peninsula who are funded significantly higher than we are, we've surpassed both the Royal Devon University Hospital and also the University Hospitals Plymouth as well. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. So to give some examples of where we've done really well. So based on our kind of last, I will say Kate said the pandemic was a negative, but for research it was absolutely fantastic, because you'll see things like ComFlu-Cov, which is obviously if you go to your GP now, you'll have a flu jab and a COVID jab. That was delivered in Cornwall, as well as many other centres, but that is now globally recognised as safe to do so. So it's absolutely fantastic. Other things that we've delivered in Cornwall as well are Ozempic, which is obviously quite a hot topic at the moment in the news. We delivered that for type 2 diabetes. But one of the things that we are really good at Cornwall is collaboration. So for the Commercial Research Delivery Centre, we have worked with 26 partners, including the ICB, GP practices, some of them are here today, the Mental Health Trust, as well as the acute organisation. Oh, it's bounced. So based on all of that expertise, our commercial research and our partnerships, earlier this year, last year effectively, we were awarded £3.5 million to have a Cornwall and Isles of Scilly Commercial Research Delivery Centre. Absolutely outstanding. And just to give you a perspective of what that looks like, next slide. If you can see there, RCHT is the host of the Cornwall and Isles of Scilly CRDC, but what you can see is the other organisations are all quite large teaching university hospitals, and we were the only one to be awarded in the South West Peninsula, and that is very much based on that previous experience and also the partnerships. And that is fundamental for the NIHR, is that moving forward we are very much delivering in a hub and spoke model and delivering care closer to home and research in the right place. So earlier this year we had our launch, which was well attended by industry partners, but also numerous partners in this room as well. Absolutely fantastic opportunity. It's a 7-year funding stream. So 3.5 million over 7 years is only 500,000. However, the accolade of holding a CRDC is absolutely pivotal for our pipeline, and we're already seeing industry partners knocking at the door that really want to work with us. So it's a really exciting time. Obviously, research doesn't have to be that a certain specialty is delivering research. A hospital that is delivering research, in general, there's better patient outcomes. It's proven, there's lots of literature around it. But what it also does for Cornwall is it's more opportunities for our participants, more opportunities to recruit staff and retention as well. Actually, the picture just a moment ago was Christina, who we employed through out of country She was from Honduras, and she is now moving into the teaching program. So it just shows that actually coming into research, doing a couple of roles, and actually the future. I'm very hopeful that as she moves into a teaching qualification next week, I think it is next week, that she'll continue to support research as well. So pictured here is Jenny and Em. They are our rapid response team, and what you will have seen earlier is the mobile research unit. You skip next slide. This is a picture of a participant that we turned up at their house when we were piloting this with a commercial company called Moderna. So the mobile research unit, I think I've lost the slide. The mobile research unit was parked outside, so hopefully some of you got to see it. But I think we were very forward-thinking in our approach, obviously because of our geography, of taking research to the participants. And at our most recent day 181 for the research study, we have successfully retained all of the participants within that vaccine study. So it's showing that actually taking research into the community, working with our partners, that actually it does retain participants in studies. So there is on our desk, there is a slide on the video, a slide set, which has the video of the mobile research unit. It has been publicised through the media, but this is just to say we couldn't have done this without the partnerships that we have with people like Andrew that are in the room, the CFT, our working relationships with CFT, and the huge GP consortium that we have and we're working with. So it's really exciting. It started on the 1st of April. We already have seen a number of our studies coming through, and we've been selected. They're due to open in August. So it's just the start. If you're interested, come and have a chat with us. But we hope that in years to come, we will be coming back with some real showcases of how we've made global impact. But it's all about our patients, which has been the theme of today, hasn't it? So just thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. We're nearly done on our speakers, but there will be an opportunity for you to have your say as well. So our next speakers are myself and Lucy Tucson, who is the Director of Engagement and Communications at the ICB. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the importance of listening and how we engage with people to help shape our health and care services. So I'm going to let Pete do the slides because this clicker is misbehaving, and we'll just wave at you each time we want you to change it.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and lovely to be here. It's actually a real privilege to be here, and I've been so inspired just by reflecting and listening to Kate and John and all the speakers. It's just been lovely to hear, and it's what's really matters is what we're listening and hearing from our community as well. So I'm going to talk to you about what we've been doing since the 3 years that I've been in this role. And it was a real exciting chance for me to, as an induction, to get out and about in our community and also find out that it actually takes a pretty long time to get one part of Cornwall to the other, which I didn't realise. There was no Ubers and no tubes. Thank you. I'll pass to Jenny on the next slide, please, Pete.
Okay, so we know that when local people are involved in decisions about health and care, our services work best, trust improves, and outcomes are fairer. And as an ICB, we also have a legal duty to involve people, but more importantly, we have a moral responsibility to do it well. That Cornwall and Isles of Scilly is a place which is rich with diversity, not just in geography, but in community experience, and our approach has to reflect that.
Thank you. So this slide brings back many memories of me getting out and about with many of the people in this room actually involved. As we did a summer of wellbeing, and it was part of our community conversations programme. We do it every year. We get out and about, and we go, just like many people have talked about, into our communities, because no good me being in my office in Bodmin or in Truro. It's better if I'm getting out and about and coming to the doorsteps of the people in our community and hearing what matters most to them. And what we did as well was we brought health with us. So we teamed up with our vaccination teams who helped to deliver NHS health checks. We had our public health teams. You name it, we invited them along to the summer wellbeing. And it's great to see Emma, because one of the first events we had was working in partnership with Cornwall Neighbourhoods for Change over in Redroof Rugby Club. And some of the photographs here just show the variety of different people that we connected with. Some of people had never their blood pressure monitored, didn't even know what it was about. And for me, health literacy is really important because I didn't know too much until I got in the role. So just imagine, if we're going to be talking about prevention, we really need to be thinking about how we communicate that effectively. So one of our flagships is that we've been able, and people banded this figure around, it started off with 10,000 people over the summer period. It continued with the NHS 10-year plan over the winter. We go anywhere. We don't mind where we go. Vaccination clinics over the winter, chatting to people in all corners of Cornwall and over in the Isles of Scilly, which we're going to visit tomorrow. And it's just been really fantastic. I'll pass over to Jenny to talk a little bit about what we did in the winter.
So we don't just engage in the summer, we do it all year round. And over the winter, this time we had over 2,000 people who were involved in shaping the local implementation of the NHS 10-year plan. So we heard from frontline staff, health professionals, our wonderful community teams, as well as local people from all the many corners of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. And we're using what we heard to guide future improvements, so particularly in areas like access, mental health, prevention and urgent and emergency care. And we've made over 100 films which we have shared with our board members so that they can hear the experiences of local people ahead of their decision making. And these films, they're really well worth a watch actually, and they document the challenges and show how we're delivering advances in response to feedback. So it just really brings that patient voice right to the very heart of decision making in the ICB.
Thank you. If you could skip on, there should be a shows that we were here this time in the winter talking to colleagues from our community sector, but also our health professionals, because it's not just about the public, it's about hearing from people on the front line because they've got the ideas and they're also residents as well. And I hope you can skip on a couple of slides for me. I wanted to mention the importance of people in our communities because we don't do it alone. We're a small team and we're really helped. I remember being contacted by parish and town councillors who wanted to get involved in the 10-year plan, and we were invited over to Saltash. And it was a lovely setting in the town hall. It was a very wintry, rainy day. And we had to break our day and workshop up because we were oversubscribed. Over 200 people came along to Saltash. They attended the wellbeing advice session, and then we had to run our session that was the NHS 10-year plan in a box. And it was an absolutely great day, but it just showed the passion. I remember seeing the town councillors walking the streets of Saltash and almost frog marching in people to come and speak to us. Not that I condone that in type of engagement, but it certainly got people through the door, and it meant that we were able to engage and hear what really matters locally. And we did this out and about in Truro, in Redroof. We really are planning to go out to every corner. So if you have something you want to invite us along to, please do let us know. But also an important part on the next slide is to actually hear about things that matter to people that we often don't hear from. And here are some pictures of our engagement with the fishing community. Now these are some fantastic events you're probably well aware of that happen on the quayside of our harbours across all parts of Cornwall, but it's a national programme that brings dental checks, health checks right to our fishing communities. And I remember speaking to a chap called Monkey down at Newquay Harbour. He just had his liver check, he just had his hepatitis C check, and he just had his blood pressure check, and he was about to get onto the dental tech as well. And he said without this, he just wouldn't have got any of those checks. And so we're looking after day-to-day and long-term health of our fishing community, who provide a vital service to us as well. And again, the lived experience of local people is really important. And this was an idea that I remember having a chat with Kate about, and she talked about making sure that we had the lived experience really shaping the way we deliver care. So I'll go on to the next slide, Pete, please. I'll skip that one. There's a bit more. I've missed those. But we went there, and that's our films that we do. Please do take a watch. And Kate said to me, I want you to create some expert reference groups. So we looked up and we put out a little advert on Facebook, and we had over 100 people apply for our first group. It's been up for running for now about a year. People of all ages, all locations with type 1 and type 2 diabetes all joined us, and I'm hoping some of those in the room will recognise themselves. On to the next slide. And we've delivered, working with clinicians, a 5-year diabetes plan that's been shaped by people with lived experience. And we were delighted as well to hear from the clinicians doing some great stuff. And so we joined up our celebration of 1 year of the Diabetes Expert Reference Group We've also a celebration of 1 year of healthy walks that were delivered by Primary Care over in Bodmin and Boswena. And here they are bringing local people who go along to diabetes support groups together with our lived experience group at Lanhydrock for a lovely walk not long ago last month. And that marked 2 big milestones for us. And we're just really pleased that lived experience is shaping the way we're going to deliver care, because it's really important that it's about what Kate talked about, what matters to you and what your ideas. And I know that people feel really proud, and I'll talk a little bit about the next group as well, our end-of-life expert reference group. It's a challenging topic, isn't it? But it's really important. And I'm really pleased to see some members of our group in the room today. And we heard from many different people's stories, and we've filmed them and we shared them and take them to our board, but we've shared them with our frontline teams, our staff, our volunteers. And I just put a quote here from Marion, a very powerful film that I encourage you to watch. She said that her experience and my family's experience have hopefully helped shape the future of palliative and end-of-life care. And the film I did, Marion's Story, which I shared some of the difficulties we were getting the right care, has shown that people who provide care will help that in shaping the future of end-of-life care. And I'm really pleased that our clinicians have worked together side by side with people who've lived experience to make important decisions, and new end-of-life services are being implemented this year. And I'm just really proud to see that work happen. And I'll pass over to Jenny on the next slide.
Now, we know that listening is only meaningful if people can understand and engage with the information in the first place. And we heard from the deaf community through our work with Hearing Loss Cornwall and Diabetes UK that there was a lack of communication materials available in British Sign Language. So we co-produced a series of Made in Cornwall BSL diabetes films, and they were shaped by local people. And one of them is in the room today. I'm just going to step aside so he can see my hands. So hello, Terence, welcome. And hello, Terence. He's Terence because he likes to stir people up. Thank you and welcome. I hoped you liked your cream tea.
Fantastic.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the films that... You have to do it with the cream. You mustn't do it too long, Terence said. It's not like a full-on beard. It's sort of more of a sort of a goatee. So anyway, these films have been picked up for national use, the films that Terence helped us to make. And it's a brilliant example of local insight leading to wider impact.
Thank you. The last slide, please. Oh, there's a few pictures of us making those films. Quite a complicated day of interpretation, editing, and really was fun in a very small room in Truro one afternoon earlier this year. Next slide. Yeah. Well worth a watch as well. If you're interested in diabetes, hearing the Q&A that Terence and Chris covered very important symptoms, things I never knew about. So, and I'd also encourage our primary care colleagues, because it might be useful tools for you to share if you do have people with diabetes type 1 and 2. Please, they don't have to be deaf to watch them, because when we showed them at the cinema in Red Roof, everyone left there and said, wow, why don't we have more health information available in that way? And hopefully on the next slide, oh, there we are, there's more pictures. So I got a bit carried away when I was making these. And next slide. Okay. So the thing is, there's so much more to do. If I could be working, like many of you probably feel, 24/7, going out and listening to our community. We don't get it right all the time. We need to go out there and do more, go further and faster. And it's only with your help is that possible. And I'm really looking forward to what the future holds as we do cluster with our colleagues in Devon who are fantastic at engagement too. So if you've got any ideas or any feedback about what you think we could do more, please do come and speak to us and invite us along, because that's what we love to do. We want to know and help and support the changing future for the NHS as part of the 10-year plan. Thank you very much.
So that's the end of our presentations. There is a chance for you to ask questions or give any reflections, and we can bring the mic to you, or you can come up to the stage. I'm just going to say, do stay. We've got some sparkling soft drinks. But before we go to any questions from you, let's go to that word cloud that we were talking about. So Pete is going to bring that up for us. At the minute, it's Lucy's head. And let's see about the things that you were proud of. And while he's doing that, does anybody have anything they want to say? Because we can bring the microphone to you. Put your hand up. Over there.
Oh, sorry.
There it is.
Anyone who knows me will know that my hand will be one of the first to go up. I'm Keith. I'm a lay representative to the Penwith Primary Care Network, and I have, in that capacity, I'm on the West ICA board. The one thing I wanted to say, and apart from echoing all the congratulations for the people who've been working on this stuff, it's really exciting to see, and I know that a lot of people have done a lot of work that has produced something like 300% more than the effort put in. It's absolutely astounding. There's one tiny little thread of concern in all that. We want, and the West Streeting wants this, to work towards more digital technology. I'm always saying there are 20% of the population who either aren't or won't or can't afford to be digitally competent, and we must not forget them. Please.
That's a very good point, and I'm wondering whether, Kelvin, would you like to respond to that at all, or Kate or John? Kelvin's the expert. You're absolutely right. It is really important that people aren't excluded.
Absolutely. It's very much on our minds, and again, one of the areas of collaboration is we work with our colleagues in Cornwall Council, who have an excellent digital inclusion service. We didn't want to try and reinvent it, so we worked with them, and actually comms colleagues, I think, are starting to push out more information about that service. The real opportunity with digital, I think, is it creates other efficiencies that mean we'll then have the time and space to support the people who need the extra help. So we're very much working with digital for those that can use it, help them to be more, help to deliver more efficient services, and then we'll have more time and space for the people who need extra help.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? You have another hand up.
Thank you. I'm Joan Heaton. I'm from Launceston, and I'm the lay member of the North and East Cornwall ICA. We've had quite a drama in Launceston because our MIU was closed down suddenly for 2 months, we think, without any public consultation. So we're having a public meeting. The public are coming to a meeting in Launceston Town Hall. I just want to say it's been a fantastic day today. And also, it's a success for me because 2 senior members are going to come to our public meeting and talk to public. So the board has listened, and I thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Kate, do you want to respond?
Does this work for me to respond? Yeah, can you all hear me? No. Do I need to lean a bit further? Oh, I do need to lean a bit further. So we won't always get it right, and in the case of what's happened in Launceston, Adi, are you still here? So speaking on behalf of CFT, we've got it really wrong, and it wasn't because we planned to get it really wrong, it was just the way we went about doing things. So Chris will be coming from an ICB perspective and Tamsin Anderson coming from a CFT perspective, and we will work with the Launceston community to do what we can during a period of disruption from a CFT perspective, but we can only apologise. That's not how we want to work, and that's not who we are. So many apologies.
Thank you. Any further questions? I can see one at the back.
Hello, I'm Kate Canally. I'm Chief Executive of Cornwall Council. It's not a question, it's more just an opportunity to, on behalf of the Council, to share our appreciation for the work that the Cornwall and Ailsa City ICB have done over the past 3 years. I came in towards the tail end of the presentations, but I've had the chance to read this document, which I think is a really fitting tribute to the work that many of you in this room have been a part of doing. And I was thinking about actually the last 3 years and what that's felt like as one of your partners, from starting off with a system post-COVID, still in a very reactive space, still getting to grips with the challenges of demand pressures not always being matched by the way in which that we were working. And over the last 3 years, through some brave leadership from the ICB, and hopefully some equally brave leadership from the council and from our partners, is that we've come together and we've designed different ways of working. And I've certainly learnt a lot from some of the leadership that we've seen from the ICB about how you've really worked alongside your communities, invested heavily in the voluntary and community sector to do things differently. And I think you've left some really, really strong services to move forward with pride and with confidence into your partnership across with Devon through the cluster. Cornwall, though, is Cornwall, and we continue to want to make sure that we build on everything that you've done in the way in which that we'll continue to work in partnership across with the NHS. But I felt it was right just to take this moment to say, on behalf of your council, your partner, a big thank you and appreciation for the leadership and delivery that we've seen through this ICB and through this NHS system. More to do, but really strong services to go forward and build on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And John's going to respond.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay now? Okay, thank you ever so much. I'll just speak as John. Okay, thank you ever so much for that. It's been really important that we hear from everybody and we've worked together. And I was saying just before you arrived, actually, what a step change in relationships and maturing that we've actually got with the council and all partners as well. So thank you for your observations for that.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments or questions? No? Okay. Well, as you can see, we've got our word cloud there. And isn't it really exciting that at the very heart of it is collaboration, partnership and community, those sort of key and most common words that people have come up with today. And thank you for your time, for all of your comments and all of your sharing of success that we've heard today. I can see that the drinks have arrived at the back. It's been pretty warm in here, so well done for surviving on a rather muggy day. And do go and have some refreshments and stay with us and chat to us as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And well done to you and your team. Thank you. Thank you. And you and yours.